Warning! This show may include words and ideas that some people may find offensive. Opinions given in this show are those of the presenters. This may or may not be in line with the values of roller snakes. Sorry, not sorry, but really sorry. Or not. Right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whenever you're watching us. My name is Forde Brookfield for the second season of the Brain Drain Show. To my left is the ever-living, wonderful, ever-living,
barely,
never dying,
undead.
He's just had a prostate exam, over 40 prostate exam. It's Toby Batchelor to the left, right here. And Toby...
I haven't. We were just talking about it. You probably should get one.
Yeah, Toby's
Forde offered it, but
I have one
maybe later.
I have one every couple of days.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yourself or
whoever's around?
Okay.
I'm actually
just anyone.
I'm due to have one today, so either
All right,
one of you two could.
Hopefully, our guest might be able to help you out with that because he's already offered.
But I'm beyond the finger now. I'm beyond the finger check. It's more of like a fish check.
A fish check.
You know what I mean? A fish check. Yeah.
See what comes out.
You know, you can get those latex fists, can't you? That people use for fisting.
The one that you ordered last week.
Right, I just remember on
It's
one.
not really a fist though. It's more like a.
It's like that.
Before we get into this, you want to introduce the guest before we just jump straight into it? Because right now,
before we go down that fisting road.
Right now, you can hear a load of fisting in the background, but it's just going to be on me and Toby.
Okay.
So
all right. So
let's introduce the special.
The guest
wonderful,
today is
legendary fishing maniac.
More fishing covers than skateboarding. It's Mark Munson.
There we go.
Thanks.
Anyway, let's go back to the. Let's go
give
back
us
to
a little. Give us a little flex first.
Flex.
There we go. That's a magazine cover for you.
Essex through and through.
What? I don't know what magazine, but yeah.
Can I talk to you about the fisting thing?
Bodybuilders Monthly.
You haven't had any Bodybuilders Monthly covers,
I'm
have
nowhere near a bodybuilder, trust me.
One of the first times ever I went into a sex shop. It was on.
Here we go.
It was one of those ones on the A1.
Yeah.
And the first thing
Why do you look around like you know the one?
Well, because
you know drive past.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The A1 is like shit independent service stations,
and then a random sex shop across from it. I think I actually even know.
It's for the truckers, isn't it? Yeah. You know, lonely truckers. Anyway, walked in there, and the first thing on display is like walk in, and there's like a display cabinet, and it's this fucking enormous like arm fist thing, and it was like oversized, fucking like. Big. Anyway,
I seen a massive dildo in Copenhagen that was in a glass cabinet and it was spinning with a light on it, like the Fuckathon 5000, and it was just
Fuckathon.
We actually
is that one that's from Frazer's specialised sex toy collection?
Yeah. I bought it for him.
Custom made. Shit.
So we was in.
Fuck.
So I'm sure he won't mind me telling this story. We was in Copenhagen Open and we went past a sex shop and we were like, you got to buy a dildo.
First spend of your
nan would want you to do this.
The Fuckathon 5000.
So we bought a dildo at Copenhagen Open and we got like iShod, Ali Balala, all these people to hold it like it was a microphone. And it was in Free Mag, like a Free Mag Copenhagen Open, you know, like the border around the article, it was all like, and the boys were there with just like a dildo. And in the hotel we were staying, we went up to the top floor, got as many people around the staircase going down to film, but not move the phone, just level. We dropped the dildo down. And then edited it. It's that song where it's like, fly like an eagle. And we laid a phone on its back with a camera pointing up and the dildo hits on the floor and then spins round over the camera. I've still got the video. I'll find it.
Can we put that on there?
Yeah.
You need to. It needs context.
I'll find it
if
before you
can't find it, let's go and buy another dildo and let's recreate that.
Yeah, well, we got some downstairs anyway, I think. Fraser's got some in the trunk of his car.
Right.
Let's start the episode.
No, let's get on with this. Okay. Right, so Munson. Yeah. Let's start at the beginning. When did you first start skating and were you snowboarding before skating?
No, skate. It took me a long time to even go snowboarding. I was refusing it.
How come?
Just thought it was shite.
I still do.
Yeah, it's sort of,
I'm still a bit lamed out by it.
Have you been?
Yeah, once.
Yeah. We're in the mountains or on a dry slope?
Real one. Is that what they call it?
A real one? Is that what? What, a mountain or a real dry slope?
A mountain in Finland.
Oh, okay.
Real snow, and it was shit.
It's interesting because my taxi driver was talking about that this morning.
Finland?
He said, do you skate? had a skateboard. I was like, yeah. He's like, do you snowboard? It was like real mountains or false mountains. And what he meant was like purpose designed courses or just what.
Oh, like
a snow park.
Because the conversation went from snowboarding to like, oh, I wouldn't ever do it because I've seen videos where people drop into holes when they wild
Into a
snowboard.
crevasse.
And it's,
I started skating first. So like I reckon it's like, I don't know, 86, so 86, 87. But like sort of introduced to it before that actually. But so basically, where we ended up having a ramp, like where I grew up, like it was in Colchester, Essex, and my friend had a farm, or his granddad had a farm, and so had loads of buildings on the farm, just random shit that wasn't really being used. So when we were like little, like sort of 12, 13, sort of hip hop, break dancing came, and then we used to break there. So I was a break dancer and into like electro, hip hop, whatever. That started there. And
Could
at
you
the
still
same
break
time,
dance?
yeah.
Could you?
Yeah.
Could you do it now?
Yeah, I could do a backspin or some shit like that.
Can we film a backspin?
We can try later.
Can we get you and
try? I mean, I didn't come here for this, but like,
Can we get Smedley over then and do
yeah,
that?
Smedley probably kills it better more than me. Like, I haven't done it properly for a while, but yeah. So I was doing that, and at the same spot on the farm, there was a quarter pipe for BMX. So like really early, there were hardly any ramps, and they'd built a quarter pipe, so it's 7 foot high, and but outside, so they just pedal down between these barns and then just do airs. And there was dudes come from all over, like from London, Southend, wherever, because there was no quarter pipe. So that was there, and then we had this little sort of, I guess it was like a piggery or something like that, small building, all in the dry. We painted up, sprayed it, lino, and we used to break in there. But then there was this thing outside, so it was a bit of a mix of that. And then, so how I ended up really getting into skating was, like Mash, my mate's brother, he came back with a Scootek. You know, like
I remember those.
Remember them, like a BMX wheel on a scooter, and he bought it from like a motorbike shop. And he was like, he used to be a BMXer, and he rocked up and he was like, "Look, I bought this thing," and we were like, "What the hell? What is it?" You know, he's like, "Scootek," and he's like, "Do a tail whip on it." Like you couldn't do a tail whip at that time on a fucking bike, but like we were like, "That's sick." So we all ended up buying them, and then we were like, "We've got this quarter pipe outside and a flat bank, and we just basically bastardized this thing together." So it was a quarter pipe and a flat bank, and then like. Just wood in a barn, literally got electrocuted trying to pull the light. There was no lights in there, so we just smashed the roof, pulled the outside light in, got whacked off the roof onto the flat, you know, and then we ended up with this sort of indoor setup that was sort of usable.
I've seen there's a load of fellas that come in here that skate around the same time, and when they show videos, it's always a quarter pipe flat with a bank.
Yeah,
it's
never.
Yeah. It's
well,
never
half pipes really. No, there weren't.
It's like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a quarter pipe, bit of flat bottom with just like a line of ply on the concrete because it wasn't smooth, the flat, and then a flat bank where you could roll in because no one was doing any lip tricks, so they weren't really invented at that point.
Yeah.
Or they were, but you wouldn't really see them. And then so that was built, or we sort of made that, and then we'd ride scooters, and then some dudes started skating it. Some other guys started rocking up, like just randomly heard that there was a thing. And then from that, we saw skating, and the guys would come. No one was really dropping in. It was before that. It was like 7 foot, and it was vertical, so it was like a really tight tranny. And then pretty sure the first video was like Animal Chin. Like once someone rented Animal Chin, and I was
because you could rent them. From
we rented them from the place where everyone bought the scooters, which was like a motorbike shop.
What year was Animal Chin? Was it around the same
86,
time?
87,
86,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
No,
it's
no, because the Bones Brigade video show was 84.
Bones Brigade show. I never saw that. We saw that after, but I think it was like 86, 87. Probably 87 over here.
I feel like it was 87.
Yeah. And then, so I watched that, and it was that. That was it. Game over. No more scooters. We'd break them a lot because we were learning quite a lot. We would like doing. It was 87. Yeah.
Nice.
So so that was it, and it was like transition straight to skate, and then from that point it was like, okay, we took that set up and then built a half pipe, and it was like a piggery, so it's quite a big barn, quite a low roof, where if you put a 7-foot ramp in, it was quite a low roof. So if you were in the corner of the tranny, you were like leaning over and touching the roof. Yeah. And then if you were at the other end, you could stand up completely because it was as the tranny went across, like this end was tight, that end was further away. So, and it was about as big as you could fit in there. Do you know what I mean? So we ended up with a 12-foot wide, essentially like a mini vert ramp. So you had like a 7-foot tranny one side, 7.5 the other. And then we knocked the wall out and then made it 24-foot wide. So it was 7, 6, 7.5, 5 or 5.5. So you could go up and down. And then at the same time, just a little bit later than that, we built another one. So we ended up with like a little mini ramp complex. So you had like a 4-footer, a 3-footer, like a hip, but a gap. And then this sort of mini vert ramp. So I learned to skate tranny.
Yeah.
And didn't skate street at all. I mean, I could do an invert before I could ollie up a curb. Like, for sure, for real. You know, and it was like, I ended up skating a little bit of street, but it was never my thing because I never learned it. You know, like we were basically right at the tail end of everyone doing early grabs, and then the ollie grab came in, and that was like, well, we've got to relearn this. But like, we hadn't been doing it that long, so it was there was a transition between them two. It wasn't like we were really setting our ways with that.
Yeah.
But that's where we learnt everything. So there was no real mini ramps. I learnt to do a rock fakie at ROM in the concrete half pipe. It's got no flat bottom, it's 6 foot.
Yeah.
And if you bail, the board goes up 30 foot and then lands on you. It's not friendly, you know. So like rock and rolls and rock fakies and all the basic stuff, we learned. We'd go to ROM. We went to ROM on scooters, but then we started skating ROM. But I never really. Like at that point, we went back to ROM years later. Like I skated ROM a lot, and I really love it. It's one of my favourite parks. But with that, at that point, it was just like learning vert ramp there. There was mini ramps there, and that was where the sessions were. Like Curtis McCann and all those dudes out of London would go there. We go to King's Cross, and skate that ramp when that was there. There weren't many ramps, you know. So people would come to our ramp quite regularly. Like Jagger came down from Midlands, we had like
Jagger was so sick.
Yeah, like there was a load of them. Like you randomly on a Saturday, get those Americans would turn up.
See, it was a different landscape then, wasn't it? There was like now there's skate parks.
There was no skate parks.
There was nothing.
Yeah, like there was Harrow, there was
Stevenage,
and ROM,
and that was kind of
and Southsea, I guess. But we never went to Southsea. But like those were it, and then Livingston.
Yeah,
but everywhere else it was nothing.
It was so different. You know, like
so like what also. Like where we grew up skating, we had like the influence was all the older guys there. Who was like there was a few dudes there like Nick Sables and Fred and some other guys that would like teach us stuff. Actually, pretty cool dude. Actually, was really rad style back in those days. He was a guy in a band, Knights of Reb, like Tony Hawk's favourite band at the time.
Yeah.
And they were all from Chelmsford, those dudes, and they used to come skate. They were rad. Like, so it was a bit of a random mix of older guys and us.
Yeah.
But then we went sort of from skating, like, sort of learning everything from the videos, and 8th Street came, and it was like mini ramp explosion. We had a mini ramp. Perfect. It was fucking game on. So like every day, I skate every day, and there's a brilliant, like, essentially what we had in there. It sounds a bit cliche, but like the atmosphere in there was fucking electric. Like everyone really wanted to get it. There was no cruising. It was like game on. Like if you went there, you wanted to get it, and if you weren't going to get it, you're going to get snaked, and you ain't going to get a go. And it sounds lame, but it was fucking brilliant. And basically, essentially, what it did.
Sounds like my worst nightmare.
Your worst nightmare, yeah.
But it's either like you're going to get some, or you're like, don't bother. Yeah. Go and sit and watch, because all of us are going to get it. And it basically created an atmosphere like where. Everyone there was a lot of good skaters like came out of there. There was a few locals like that got really good. Jamie Shaw ended up skating for 8th Street and some other brands. There was like good crew of younger kids coming through, like a little bit younger than me. And then there was a good crew of older guys, a bit older than me, that were teaching us the ropes. And then when the mini ramp came, it sort of all the old guys were like, oh, we can't do any of this shit. Like we could do grinds and little airs and inverts and the basic sort of verties style stuff. But we then, like, it was then ollie blunts and tail slides and all of this shit. Where that didn't exist for them, you know? So it's all like we had this crazy learning curve And we had the ramp every day, and we skated every day. It was like every single day it was on, and every day we were getting stuck in. So we transition was right. There was a lot of good skating there, you know, and we didn't travel enough really. In hindsight, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had that there on your doorstep,
yeah,
then basically, why would
and
you?
people would come.
And if you the sessions like you're getting good sessions in, you kind of
you don't need to.
Yeah, you're getting what you need to.
Yeah. And what was right? Like we had. Like people would visit, like the pro guys of the time, which there were virtually none. But it was like Sean, Goff, Dossett, Paul Wright, those three. Like they came. I remember those three coming one night. I think Jason Lunn maybe come there, but like,
who did he ride for, Jason Lunn?
I can't remember. His rad style.
Was he Pacer?
No, I don't know. He was on M Zone.
Frazer, can you?
Early.
Jason Lunn,
I'm sure
skater.
Jason Lunn was on M Zone.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know whether he was on any brands, but like Dossett had front cover of Rad.
Yeah.
On that ramp.
He was sick.
And
what was he doing?
Cheek chink. Even though you're telling me you're not allowed to use that.
Can't use that.
It's the noise of the trick, unfortunately.
Okay. All right.
But like, what was rad that day is like, they basically turned up. Dossett killed it. Did loads of stuff. Like made it look freely.
Yeah.
And Paul Wright changed the game. Like for me personally, my sort of favourite skaters were never like the clean cut, like the guys who were good. They were more like the ones like Ben Schroeder, Chris Miller, that type of skater. I remember like power and Chris Miller is style and power, but like Schroeder's just psycho.
Yeah, so Ben Schroeder, I was kind of late to the game with him, but like one quote Powley said to me once about, I'm sure it was Powley, he went to, it must have been Southsea, and Ben Schroeder was skating the ramp there, and he was like, when he was on the ramp was shaking.
Yeah,
was
he's massive.
Like, you know, because he's a tall dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah.
I've got a sick story about Schroeder from Raemers.
Yeah.
So when, obviously we'll probably get into Raemers, but when Ben was little, he'd skate with us and he grew up skating with us. And then I do a lot of tricks that Ben Schroeder did. And that they're sort of my tricks, like nose grinds, alley-oop, nose grinds, all this stuff that he invented. He basically invented all that shit. Raemers don't know anything about this guy. So the first, he goes on a Volcom trip. We got him on Volcom, Europe or something. And when I was doing Duffs, we always wanted to go to Cayman Islands. But the budget was like, we blow the whole budget and we go to the Cayman Islands and we don't go anywhere else for the rest of the year, or we just fucking spread it out and do more trips. So I was like, we just can't go to Cayman Islands. First trip Raemers gets on with Volcom, he's like, I'm going to Cayman Islands. I was like, what the fuck? So he gets out to Cayman Islands and it was with Phelps. I think there was like a Lion and some other dudes. So it was a really like Rune, heavy crew. Yeah. Like all the heavy hitters were there. Raemers is a little kid on it. And somehow Schroeder's on it, but I don't know it's him. He said, "There's this guy out here, man. He does all your tricks. He's like big. He's called Ben." And I was like, "Schroeder." He said, "He does all your tricks, like alley-oop, nose grind, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, that's fucking Ben Schroeder. And he's like, "Who's Ben Schroeder?" I said, "Mate, he invented all that shit." I said, "He's an absolute beast." He's like, "Oh, mate, he takes slams like I've never seen anyone slam." And I was like, "Yeah, that's Ben Schroeder." And he was like, "Oh, no way." And then completely randomly, like, I don't know.
He does those, like, in bowl corners, like running with the board.
Yeah, just jump on.
And then I don't do that on anything.
You got a high risk of
so gnarly. If you watch him skate, like, so the same on the same story, I would say 10 years later, me and Ben are in Washington Street. I was out there. I think we were doing like it wasn't like a planned trip or something. I was there, Ben was living there, and we met and we were going to hang for a few days, and we ended up going to Washington Street. And Schroeder turns up. And he was like, "Hey, Ben, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Shit, Ben Schroeder's here." And I'm in the bowl there. I was trying to do an eggplant, right? Here's the best eggplant. It's a flying egg. It's like, it's not even a trick. It's like a fucking, like, it's near-death experience. It's amazing. Like, he literally flies upside down, puts his arm straight, he's 4 foot out the top, lands on his arm and goes in. Yeah. No one does it like that. People do flying eggs, but they don't do them like that. It's like a completely different ball game. Anyway, he turns up, says hello, and Raemers is like, "Oh, this is my mate Mark. Like, he's the guy, he does all your tricks, blah, blah, blah." I thought he was, and whatever. We got into conversation, and I'm like, turn around, Schroeder drops in, just like, hear this whack, and he's flat out. You're like, fuck, like he's like 6'6",
Yeah,
and he's dropped
tall
in and
dude.
just slid out
He's
on the bottom.
6'6".
He's massive,
Yeah.
like he's a lump, right? And he's on the floor. He's like, gets up, like he takes it. Like we had all those, like, all these graphics, like crash test dummies and shit, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and gets out. He's like, he starts skating around. He's not really doing anything. And then I'm trying an egg and I'm bailing. And then Ben Schroeder's like, come on, man, you got that. You can do it. And I was like, fuck, I've got this Ben Schroeder, man. And I did it, got a high five from Ben Schroeder. Afterwards, I said to Raemers, you don't even know what that is. Like, for me, as a 17-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid, when I learned eggs, like, he always did the best one. I never met him. I didn't know who he was. Raemers met him, and then like it's like I'm doing these tricks, or vice versa, blah blah blah. And then I meet him, and I do an egg in front of him, and he's fucking giving me a high five. So that's fucking unreal, you know. Who ever thought that was going to happen?
There's no age limit on geeking out about skating.
No.
Like, I'm 30 and I'll meet skateboarders that I've watched in videos years ago.
Yeah.
And when I went to America, like, I don't know if you know, like Dave Vale, like, called the King of Freestyle, like, it's what all the like Coliseum Boston guys, like DJ Ladd called him that. And when I met him, I've got a copy of a DVD that he's got the cover on.
Right.
And I was like, can you sign it for me? Like, I've got like no...
You grow up with it,
no
don't
shame
you? It's
in it.
part
Like,
of your life.
When I met Chris Averton, if you know Avi, who does all the mental no complies, like,
it's amazing.
Sidewalk cover, like, we've been skating with him a bunch of times, and me and my mate Will went to his house and, can you sign this magazine cover? Like, I don't think there's any age limit to be like, I've watched you skating for 10 years.
I mean, well, but the thing is, at the
rad,
end of the day,
it's so
absolutely,
rad.
At the end of the day, we're all skate rats, and,
Well,
that shit is our
100%.
lives.
Nerds,
So, like,
And it sort of shapes you.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you know, whatever style of skating you've got, you'll gravitate towards certain styles or certain people, even certain tricks now. People even more so because you've got so much more access to it.
Yeah.
Like when we were growing up, you had a magazine every
was
month
it.
if you were lucky.
Yeah.
You know, like I learned inverts from a 6-page or nine shot sequence. Literally, like I'm gonna learn inverts. There it is. Put it on the flat bottom. And I'm
With
like
a little
watching
bit of
it.
text.
Yeah. Like
Approach
put your
the
hand down,
coping
do
at
this. And
moderate
like,
speed.
yeah, that's how I learned them. And it was like, do that, work it up, bam, 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 and I ended up learning them like
Lock arm, look down.
And just on what you were saying there about getting Avi to sign shit, when Habgood was here, he made Habgood sign the copy of Rad, and Habgood was
the
so
flaky.
it was so uncomfortable
Yeah, I've
about
got
doing
that, like,
it.
Great
prestige condition. And
Habgood was like, oh.
I was like, can you please sign it? And he was like, he didn't want to sign it on the show, so he signed it after, and I got my phone out, and I was like, and I filmed it like landscape way, so I could put it in on the show. But yeah, same with like Habgood, and then obviously Dainton.
Yeah.
Like, I knew Dainton from like a little bit I got into skating when I was like 14, and the Sanchez stuff was like just kind of kicking off. But I'd always been into deaf, so I remember like the Dainton and Pritchard and stuff like that. And then like 15 years later, like we go and skate and stay with him and like Habgood. And for me, it's just like I'm gonna ask him to sign the VHS because I've had this VHS since I was 16.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
and
part of your life.
I don't care if they're going to be my mates for
It's part of your life.
like I could know him for like the next year and he could be too busy, or I could know him for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
If I get a board of his that comes out, I'm still going to ask him to sign it. If he's my mate or not, if I grew up with him or not.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it might not mean what Schroeder means to you might mean fuck all to someone else.
100%.
That's why it's so good, because it's so vast.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's so good about skating.
Yeah.
It's so diverse. You just pick whatever you want.
Everyone geeks out and just, you're not just geeking out on like one formula
No,
car drive, you know what I mean? Everyone's got like, and you can geek out on skaters that aren't pro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or aren't known, or like local legends, just because you see how good they are.
Yeah.
And they might not even be good to you, but to me, it's something about it that makes it good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Going back to what you're saying about like when the older generation of your guys around your way, when it went just that mini ramp and they kind of like knocked it on the head, was that around the time when wheels started getting smaller? And like
a little bit earlier. So we probably had
Baggy trousers,
like
small wheel.
1990 around then.
Yeah, a bit earlier. So it was like
89.
essentially that ramp. So yeah, 88, 89, it was full on, but the rave scene started at the same time.
Do you get into that?
Yeah, but I never got into the chemicals. I got away with it somehow, but everyone around me did. So it's a weird story, but like we ended up, a couple of mates of mine there weren't many people into it initially. And when it first started, it was like, because I was into breaking and music and whatever, I was like, okay, and hip hop. And then this came and it was like, what the fuck is this all about? So, and I ended up going to some like sort of acid house parties in London before the warehouse thing. And then when the warehouse thing started, I went to the first one. So like the first Sunrise, which is like the biggest party that had ever happened in England, 10,000 people in a air hangar near Slough, where no one knew where it was, and everyone's ringing a fucking phone line saying,
Slough as well.
Where is it? It's because there's a lot of air hangars around there. It's like near Heathrow. So there's loads of old big buildings. They rented, there's a book about that night. They rented it for 500 quid and said it was for a music video, and then 10,000 people turned up and had a party.
Shit.
And they made like £1 million cash in one night.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But so we were there. But when I was there, I saw a guy. I saw, this is amazing. Like, it was mental atmosphere. Lots of people off their heads having a fucking whale of a time. But like, I didn't do any drugs at all, and I drink, but you couldn't buy a drink. So I had like a bottle of champagne or something. It was like, we were here, and then I went to the toilet, and there was a guy in there who was clearly like either heroin or something like that, but he was on his flat, looking like he might die. And somehow I had this thing in my head, was like, this is fucking amazing, could end up there. And I never got into it. Like everyone else I knew did. And some of them never came back. Do you know what I mean? Like, but at the ramp, everyone was smoking weed, and like underneath the ramp there was like a little area where you could go in. So like dudes would come to the ramp and get stoned, stand on the platform, because down underneath there people were just doing buckets and constantly getting fucking stoned, and all these fumes were coming up through the ramp. So it was like,
it's a hot box.
Yeah, it was just like, but we never stopped skating. There was like a whole crew of people who used to come and hang doing that, and they were never not anti-skating. They were interested in it. They would come out and watch and whatever. Some of them did skate a bit, but that never stopped. It was like, so 88, 89 was still like the small wheels and pressure flips, and that hadn't started coming through. Really, it was like 90, 91.
I'm just curious how you been
it's
known for transition skating when small wheels came.
I was like, I mean, I skated vert with like 45 mil wheels at Leon C.
At that point, you still stayed off street skating.
I started street skating.
Right.
Like I learnt to like ollie, kickflip, basics.
I've seen you do kickflip.
Yeah, the kick flop, I would say, rather than kickflip.
Yeah, kickflip.
But that was acceptable back then. But unfortunately, it's not so much now. But yeah, so I then learnt pressure flips and all that stuff, like which everyone, if you were skating at that time, you learnt that because that was part of the deal. And then it was never really my thing. I just chucked myself down gaps and stairs, did a few little handrails and whatever, but never had the pop. You know, it's not my. I just never learnt it. You know, I never felt good.
Like that heavy back leg.
Yeah, just
from tranny skating, isn't it? It's different, isn't it?
Just like a completely different weight distribution. You know, and on tranny, there's one thing, and on street, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely jealous of bods who've got that. You know, you can see they're so light-footed on tranny as well. You can tell.
I've never been light-footed. It's like my legs don't want to lift up.
I
Because all I've done is skate ramp. It seems like my legs don't.
Yeah, they don't want to come with you.
No.
Like in my head it works, but when in practice it doesn't actually unfold like that. Whereas if you're skating bigger stuff, like bigger tranny, you can use your momentum to get you up and back down. But you can't do that on mini. You know, you could never. I mean, that's just pure, like actual ability to get you up and down in the right place on smaller stuff. You know, but that's like street. It's like, you know, to me, street is like, even though I can't do it, like I've got massive respect for that style of skateboarding, because to me, it's like you can learn to skate vert and like get your idea of like where you need to be from the vert to like land on airs, and you know, taking shit to another level on vert is like gnarly. You can hurt yourself big time. But street is relentless. Even on the most basic thing, you can kill yourself, you know?
Yeah, because nothing's the same, is it?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's like real street, where bods are really doing it in the streets rather than just being good in a park on street course. That's completely different. But yeah, so I saw we did that. And then when that did come, I carried on skating. But at the same time, that's how I sort of ended up getting into snowboarding a bit. Was like, we were skating the ramp, how I ended up really going snowboarding is that Phil Young, do you know
Yeah,
Phil?
yeah.
Like, so he used to skate our ramp. They were from Harlow. There's a few dudes like Rennie and Simon and Phil, Darren used to come from Harlow skate. And all of them ended up sort of being in and around the industry. Like Darren set up A4 distribution that did Etnies and all of that with Alan. And then Phil's obviously been involved in that. And then I think Simon does art and Rennie works with Soul Tech too, I think. So they were, at the time, I think Darren was working for Phase 7, which we really had no idea. We weren't interested in the industry. We were just like proper skate rats, just want to get it and that's it. And so Phil had mentioned saying, you should go snowboarding. You fucking love it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, snowboarding, man. Fuck that. I'm a skateboarder. I'm not interested in that shit. Like, I'm never going to go snowboarding. He was like, you should go. It's fun, blah, blah, blah. He was going. And I was like, no. And then left it. And then it's probably maybe in the same year, maybe the next year, that there was a guy who used to skate there from Cambridge. His dad or parents lived on the airbase, and they'd come up. He was English, but like he would come and skate. Justin Allenson, his name was. I actually set up a brand called Dope, a snowboard brand, years later. But
massive now, aren't they?
no, it's a different brand.
Is it?
Yeah, same name, different brand. But like this is like there's an actual really sick Dope video from the 90s. I'm gonna say mid 90s, 96, 97. It's got Penny, Rune.
Wasn't fucking hell, the Finnish vert skater
You see.
there? He was on it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he might have been on it. Yeah, like Root, it's like basically it's like Flip.
Yeah.
But there's some good snowboarding in it as well. It's really rad. I don't know whether it's online, but it's a sick video. But anyway, Justin Allison used to skate our ramp, similar standard, similar age to me, and then we'd skate every day. He'd come every week, and it was like we were about the same level. And then I'm going every day, and then it's like I'm starting to like learn more tricks because I'm skating more. We're doing the same tricks, and like he's a nice guy. Like we got on quite well, and he was like, I'm going snowboarding for the season. I'm like, what's that? And he's just like going out to live in the mountains for like for the whole winter. He said, you should come. And I was like, fuck that. You know, he's like, seriously, man, you should go snowboarding. You love it. And I was like, nah. Anyway, don't even know what season is. He leaves. We carry on skating. And I would say it's within 6 months to a year. I go to this I drive past this shop still now. I go past these like news agents. Changed my entire life. Completely changed my fucking life. I went in to buy Thrasher. I knew they put a sold Thrasher. And they had Thrasher there and Snowboard UK. And at the time I was learning stale fishes like on vert or like on our ramp and vert. And there was a front cover of this snowboard mag, like a pretty rad stale fish in a half pipe. And it was Snowboard UK magazine. So I bought it. I was like, I'll just get both. Went home, looking at Thrasher. I picked up this snowboard magazine, like looking at stuff, rad, get through it. Front cover, 6-page interview, Justin Allenson. Right. He's a pro snowboarder. Yeah. And I was like, what? Get the fuck out of here. Like, straight down to the ramp. I was literally chucked it on the platform. That's fucking Justin. He's a professional snowboarder. We got to go snowboarding. So, like, 2 weeks later, we're in the mountains, eating shit. None of us ever been on a lift anywhere near the mountains. Don't know what we're doing. But I couldn't use the lift. But if I could get to a jump, I could do tricks. So by the end of the first week, I learned like 540s and could do 360s both ways. It was like, it's skateboarding, but easier.
It's attached to your feet.
Yeah, you can't fall off. But also at that point, it was like prime transition. Like Carpe-Diem was a pro snowboarder.
Danny Way.
Noah Selasnik, Danny Way. And a lot of the guys who were like, they could lean either way and they'd be a pro snowboarder. I was like, fuck, I'm getting in there. So
wasn't Danny Way a pro skater, snowboarder and surfer all at the same time?
I don't know whether he's pro surfer, but he was as good as anyone on surfing. But yeah, like...
Didn't Carpe-Diem go pro for snowboarding before skateboarding?
I don't know.
I think at the same time. He might have been a pro snowboarder before he was had a board out. He was on Dogtown and everything, wasn't he, in the early days?
He used to BMX and shit.
Yeah.
Carpe-Diem's done everything.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my route into snowboarding. And then I did. So we came back from that trip, and I was like, I'm going to buy a snowboard. I had a really shitty attitude towards snowboarding. I was like, fuck these guys. I'm a skateboarder. This is easy. Like I had anyone who skated as well. I was like, yeah, rad. Like that's cool. But like, if you only snowboard, does that even really count? That was in my head. Like I was a really bad attitude. And I went to a dry slope contest to watch. I didn't talk to anyone. Just watched. We went with a couple of mates and we just stood there, watched, see what the standard is. Like, okay, buy a board, build some ramps, started riding dry slope. And then like 6 months later, I ended up coming like 6th in the British Championships. But it was like the prime time, like on dry slope, not on snow. But then I did 8 seasons. So for 8 winters, I lived in the mountains. And then from that, I was still skating the first couple of years a bit, but not really, because it was more like, okay, this is my new thing. And skating was still small wheels and tranny wasn't the thing.
You kind of missed out that.
Yeah, no, I was there like at the early part when it was all pressure flips, and then when it all went switch and everyone was going really slow, and really big trousers and really big, really small wheels.
Not your thing.
I tried. I did, I kept up with learning new stuff for a bit, and then I was just like, this ain't my thing. And then snowboarding came, so I was like, this is better. Yeah. This is like what I like. I go fast. I'm doing the same tricks I used to like skating, 360s and airs and gaps and all this shit. And I'm like, I could do handrails on a snowboard and all of these things. So I was like jumping on everything. And basically I tried to recreate the crew that I had at my ramp in snow. So the first couple of seasons I did with different dudes, and then I met some other guys, Kenty and Cracknell brothers, and these other guys, they were pretty good. Like Kenty was probably the best snowboarder that was sort of not interested in being sponsored, but was. He still probably is one of the best free riders they've ever had out of UK. He's like a beast. And we got on, and we were both on a similar mindset, and we ended up living together. So we had 5 of us living in a house, and we had another 5 years of that. So, and actually that ended up a bit of luck in the respect that we ended up in Bourg-Saint-Maurice, which is like Les Arcs is the resort. It's near Tignes and Val d'Isère. And there's a little skate park there, a little concrete thing, which is fun, like little banks, really cruisy, but fun. And then I think the second year we were there, we turned up and some guy was like, they built a ramp in the barn. And we're like, no way, like fucking let's go and find it. So we like searched down this industrial estate for this little window. There's a fucking perfect ramp. It's like 8 foot, 10 foot inside, little quarter at the back, little street coursey thing. That's like exactly what I used to skate, but bigger and nicer. And Quiksilver paid for it. It was something to do with Frank Screm, who was like a local pro, and he persuaded them to do it. And none of the locals could skate it because it was too big. They'd all been skating this little ramp. They were like, can you skate? We turned up, we were like, can we skate? So I bought a new board, pads. I was like, let's fucking go. So we got on there. So ended up what happening, it was Jamie Dring. He was living there. I think Barry came out, Barry's brother. So me and Jamie grew up skating Leon C. And Jamie and those guys used to come to our ramp at Colchester. We could skate that thing, so immediately it was like on, and then every day we go snowboarding. Every night, come home, eat some food, go to the ramp. And at first it was like, you have to pay to skate the ramp. So we started paying. Within a week, they were like, you can fucking skate this. Teach us how to skate it. You don't have to pay. So it was rad. So like every single night, that basically was probably like 1990, I want to say like 90, 98, 90, 97, maybe 98. So that winter, maybe 98, mate, 97, 98, somewhere around that. And I just got completely back into skating and doing it properly. So I could do airs again, inverts. We would do doubles on that ramp. Had a few photos in the magazines of like doing doubles on the ramp with Jamie, and just got board control back again, And then at the end of each season, we'd go to Marseille. So at that time, I couldn't skate part properly. I could do tricks, but I couldn't carve. I never really learnt it. And I learned it from the Marseille locals, really. We were there at like 1 o'clock in the morning one day, and all these like mopeds turned up, and it was all the local crew. And they were like, follow us around. They showed me all the lines, and that's how I learned to skate that place, really. Nice. And that was, I opened it up. And then I'm guessing it was like 1999 was like the first Quiksilver Bowl Riders.
Yeah.
And that completely changed my life. Again.
Yeah.
I basically stopped snowboarding after that. I went there and I somehow got invited to Dayton, and I was filming quite a bit because every time I get hurt, I was filmed. And I met a guy who was making films like snowboard, skate, crossover, sort of extreme sport type thing for like DVDs, and then it ended up being Extreme Channel. And then I filmed with him and filmed 4 with him, and then filmed 4 in the next videos. So we ended up doing like 3 or 4 sort of DVDs that came out.
Yeah.
And then ended up all of those ended up on Extreme Channel. But at the same time, I was like more and more into skate, and not less and less into snow, but just like when I went to Marseille, I somehow got in on that trip with Dayton and Woody, and we turned up, and it was like everybody, all the heaviest hitters, Carpe-Diem, Childress,
Was that the
Wade Speyer.
year that Carpe-Diem did the 360 transfer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
So
I bet Speyer was something else as well, wasn't he? I mean, like
Speyer
spines and
was
stuff.
on fire.
Yeah,
Honestly, it was like, essentially that changed my life in such a massive way. It basically legitimized everything that I thought skateboarding was, but I'd never seen it. Like that was what we skated like. That's how I wanted to skate. That's what I did, but just not how they were doing it.
Yeah.
So like it was like Hewitt, like everyone, like none of them were getting paid any money. It wasn't cool at that point. It was just before, like Dave Mailman, who worked for Quick, who put that together. He was miles ahead.
Was Alan Peterson there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing
head high
backside ollie.
Yeah, I was filming that shit. It was
remember-
over my head. Backside ollies, no hands.
I remember going
unreal.
to what year would it have been? 95 Munster Bowl.
Yeah.
Watching Alan Peterson just tear around that, just turn up, like tear about backside ollie the channel, and it's just like
Oh my god.
the way he does it.
Yeah.
And then seeing him
It's like,
later on at Radlands
Yeah.
when he was doing them on that
Wild.
big court. He like ollies, then turns.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
you do it, and that's
Yeah.
how I learned backside ollies.
It's
on
like
tranny.
riding a glass wall.
Yeah, he
that
just
isn't there. Just like
drops.
ride out and then turn it and ride back in.
It was just
But like, yeah, it was like Wade Speyer, Omar, Peterson,
yeah.
Dandra Hobel,
Nice.
like you name it.
The classics.
Everyone was there, and everyone wanted it. They all wanted it because none of them earned any money.
Yeah.
There was like 50 grand prize money, and everything was paid for, like beer, nice food, amazing spot, sunny on the beach. They were fucking having it. It changed my entire perception of what skateboarding
Was Chris
was.
Sen there?
Yeah, killed it. Unbelievable. I'll tell you, it was fucking amazing. Ben Cran. You ever heard of Ben Cran?
Yeah.
So Ben Cran.
He was a snowboarder as well, wasn't he?
And I don't think so. He's from Oregon.
Oh,
Like,
right.
incredible. Like he used to be on Etnies, but he's like, I didn't know Cran. I never met him. I never seen him ever before. And you got all these psychos, like absolutely charging, right? So like really having it, like full on. Like Cran is like little guy, light,
He's a
beard.
bit more technical, isn't he?
Just unbelievable. Like he's just like rolling around,
Yeah.
like taking no notice of anyone else. And he'd like, he did lines. Like I was just like, I said to, I can't remember, was it Frazer? Frazer Campbell was me. I was like, watch that fucking guy. Just watch him for like 5 minutes, and just see where he goes and what he does. Because he's not doing the big look at me tricks. He's doing like, no one would ever do that there trick. No one even think about what he's doing there. Like he would literally ride around and he'd be like, just looking around. There's fucking dudes flying everywhere. And he'd like kickflip into the tranny. Bam. Ride around, like front side grind around the corner, like 180 nose, like nose wheelie, and then half nab out over the teardrop. And then he'd go into deep, and he like people are flying everywhere. And he's like switch backside rolling in a 10-foot bowl, no pads, pair of shorts, fakey ollie blunt, front side caballerial, no grab. You're like, who the fuck is that? Like no one does
did he end
any
up
of these
riding
things.
for?
He was on the America. He's just like,
Yeah.
like honestly, he was insane. But that was like one little element of like just insanity over there. But somehow they knew to invite him, you know. And then you had like Speyer was going at it, Childress, Carpe-Diem, like everyone was having it. Pete Hewitt knocked himself out in like semi-final. Like everyone was going
I could
down.
just watch Hewitt front side grind.
Grind, yeah.
Like he's got that weird
Yeah.
like arm and
Yeah.
leg.
It's just like
steers.
power.
And he's like the DRI logo when he's skating. He's like,
I tell you what he did there, which was fucking amazing. He did an alley-oop front side over the hip. He did a half cab from mid to deep, which is like 7 to 10 foot, 9 foot. Impossible. Like, the trick's not that hard. Doing it there is impossible. But there was so many things. Like, it was literally like the 20-minute final of that contest was like, it was like full on. It was Slayer, it's Metallica, it's Black Sabbath fucking going, and everyone's getting it. Like, it was like everywhere you looked, the gnarliest thing you'd ever seen was going down at the same time. And they were hitting each other, they were flying over each other, you know, like, were following each other. Like, it was gnarly. It was like everything I wanted skateboarding to be was there right now. That's you. You can do this. You do that. And and afterwards, we went back to hotel, and we were literally all lying in bed. None of us could sleep. We'd been to a pub, and we were just like, what about that? What about fucking, did you remember that? It was like that for like 2 hours, going off about what happened in that final. And it was insane. But after that, I was just like, I can skate like that. Like, I can do those tricks. They're my type of tricks. I can do inverts, eggs, frontside invert, whatever, like all of the tricks they're doing. And I need to skate like that. I need to be more powerful, more committed, and now I'm going to skate like that. And that's what I did. So I basically like knocked snowboarding sort of on the head, but it sort of worked out perfectly. At the same time, like, the brand that I was riding for, so I was sponsored for snowboarding and skate at the same time, and I was sort of getting a little bit of money out of both, but not really pro. And the brand I was riding for was Duotone, so I was like riding for them, but I became like brand manager, marketing guy, team manager, all rolled into one, work in the warehouse in the summer guy, whatever I needed to do. So I managed to sort of wangle it, so that it sort of worked for me. And at the same time, I got on Airwalk through snowboarding. And at that time, Airwalk was still legit in some ways. There was like Rune had a pro shoe, Tony Hawk.
Rowley did as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Rowley.
Who was the vert
Steve
skater?
Berra.
The Planet Earth guy, Brian.
Howard.
That's it, Brian Howard was on.
Yeah, like, but Berra had a shoe, didn't come out. But like, those samples were on the thing when I got on. They were like, there's Tony Hawk, there's Wing Glifberg, that's Jeff Rowley, that's blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck, like, this is legit. And they had really good snowboard program. So I ended up riding for them. And then I became somehow, because I had no budget, a skateboard team manager. They had no team. I was like, you should be doing something. But then I basically wangled some kind of deal where no money, but like I could give product away. And within 6 months, none of those pods were on the team. Like, Tony Hawk's riding for someone else.
Kind of went overnight, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like that. But in snow, they carried on. They had a good program with good snowboarders, and they were all signed up for a few years. So, but at the same time, when I was sort of doing Airwalk, skate, and Duotone, which is the brand, snowboard brand. So that was my baby, really, because I got involved about 4 or 5 years before as a rider, and then ended up being the sales guy, the marketing guy, like being the brand manager, basically, for UK. And it did pretty well. We had great team, and like all the team used to live together. They all skated a bit, so we were like, it was really rad, like a good setup.
So you put together a team for Airwalk?
Yeah.
You had Dan Leach on, didn't you?
Yeah, Leach.
So,
Barry Dring.
Yeah, I mean, I fucking love Dan Leach, rad dude. 2 stories. I think one of them you told me when you went to Poland.
Yeah.
And you were ordering pizza.
Yeah, and he had to call his missus.
He had to call his wife because he didn't know what he ever.
One, he didn't know whether he liked pizza, and secondly, he didn't know what he liked on it. He's like, all right. I said, can I borrow your phone? I'm like, what the fuck? So yeah, he said, Wendy, we're having a pizza. Do I like pizza? So I was like, yeah. What do I like on it? Like, fucking hell,
Cheese.
Dan. Yeah.
Dan, he's the best dude.
Yeah, that was so good.
Unreal.
Dan. But what we had with Airwalk was like, you couldn't get anyone that was legit. No one knew Dan was.
Yeah.
Where is Dan?
Fuck knows. The last time I saw him, he was
still skating there?
He was making pond liners in St. Neots. I mean, we're going back over 15 years.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
He was really nice, Dan. I really liked him. He was,
but
he was a brilliant skater.
Yeah, the other story he told me, which was quite funny, is that randomly, you guys on some trip for Airwalk went to my secondary school in Buntingford, where I grew up, and he kickflipped a roof gap there.
Yeah.
And that's like where I first started skating. And
That was
totally random, next to the field that had a mini ramp in, and there was the school next door.
I remember that.
So that's...
It's in a video, actually. That's in a music video.
What the fuck was the school called? Edwin Street School.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I think
Random,
that.
innit?
Yeah.
Totally random.
Yeah. So I was doing that.
And then when did it transition from Airwalk to Duffs? Because around Duffs was kind of when I got involved with doing the Duffs sales. And
Yeah, I'm
going
going
to
to
say... When me
say...
and you first started hanging out a bit. And
Yeah, I don't know, really. It's I would say I probably was Airwalk... Well, with Airwalk, you couldn't get anyone.
Yeah.
So I ended up having... I got Carl Wilson.
Yeah.
Because no one knew who Carl was. He was just a little dude that I met at the local skate park.
Yeah.
And then Ben.
Yeah.
But they didn't even have shoes to fit Ben at that point.
That's
Because he was that size 6 was the smallest they went. He was a size 3. He was fucking 12. Tiny. And Dan Leach, Blackwell was on, and who else? Barry Dring. But none of them were really at that point. No one gave a fuck about any of those dudes, because it was like, and if anyone did care, they wouldn't have gone an Airwalk at the time, you know. Yeah. But then it sort of went like from bad to worse as like the way it was being run. Not in England, but like it was just like what we're doing here ain't going to go anywhere. Yeah. And so in the end, I was just like, I've got to slide. And I'd sort of resigned myself. I was like, okay, well, that was fun while it lasted. You know, I didn't really earn any money. We had a few trips. We managed to do some trips. I went to go to America. I went to Poland. Did some other trips with the team. Oh, Tim Crawley as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's a documentary maker now. He's pretty cool. He was
yeah,
rad.
Bristol.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he came on a trip. He was like techie.
He did a really good documentary with Paul Alexander.
Yeah,
one of our
it's amazing.
From Leicester about his mental health.
Yeah,
and stuff.
for Vice.
Yeah,
it's rad. Yeah, he's cool.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's so it was that like all of these guys that no one even knew about really, and so I think I sort of got in my head. I was like, okay, time for me to knock this on the head, and sort of told everyone what was happening. I was like, let's look for other options, and because no one really cared, no one really picked up anyone, really, and I want to say about 6 months later, I just had a random phone call, and it was Nick Jackson, who ended up, was the Duffs guy. And he was just like, oh, I wanted to speak to you about, Duffs. I was like, oh, cool. So I was like, I'm back on a building site now. That was good. I had a rare time, and I'm skating hard. I'm like into it. I was sponsored again. So I wasn't really sponsored in the early days. I was sort of like, there was rumours of it, and it never really came together. But then I got on Panic when they were going to redo it. So their Blueprint, and that was doing their thing. And they were like, we want to do redo Panic. We want me, Stu Graham, Nowick, Ben Layden, and we want Tranny-based team. I was like, fuck yeah, that sounds amazing. Like, that's right. All of those dudes are amazing.
Was that when Pritchard was on it as well? And then
no, but after.
Like Louis Slater, was that all before?
Yeah, that was before that. So
when they did,
we are talking like mid-90s, 95, 96,
yeah. So
maybe?
like the early part is when Pritchard and those dudes, that Panic and Blueprint sort of sat alongside each other. Yeah.
They mixed media.
That's right. Yeah. So that was the early part of that. But then they canned Panic and just carried on with Blueprint. Sorry, I've hit the mic there. But like that continued. Blueprint went from strength to strength, and then Panic they just swerved.
Yeah.
And then Burlow I don't know who talked to me actually. The first maybe Mark Harmon, or their plan was to do a tranny brand.
Yeah.
And like so concentrate on that type of skating.
Yeah.
And then they said who was going to be on the team, and I was like, yeah, I'm in on that for sure. That sounds amazing. So that's why I started riding for Panic at that point. And then Airwalk came after that, and then I'm guessing like maybe probably about 6-8 months. I didn't have any sponsor or hookup in. not sponsor, but like more hook up with a job wise in skate or snow. I'd left. Duotone had been stopped by the people who owned it. They owned a load of brands, and like, this is the smallest, but it was the coolest brand they had. But it wasn't that profitable, so they're like, can that, and we'll just carry on doing the windsurfing stuff and the other shit. And that was like, oh. I had other offers of other brands where I could have gone to another snowboard brand, but I'm like, it doesn't sound that good to me to like, oh, this is the best thing ever. I've just built this from nothing, and now a year later, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. You know, it's like, no, it's not my scene. So I was like, all right, I'm skating. I'll just leave it now.
Just doing your thing.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, I'll continue doing what I'm doing.
And then Nick Jackson called.
Yeah, and then Nick Jackson out of nowhere was like, come and have a meeting. So I went out to the meeting, had no idea, right? So
had you met him before?
Never.
So he just randomly.
Completely random. So I'm Guy. I run Duffs in the UK. We'd like to talk to you. I don't know where he got my number at all, but like, and so I went up for a meeting, and he was like, "We got Duffs." It was doing well at the time. They were doing office, and they were sort of crossing over into that mainstream market just before any other like vans weren't really doing it at that time. And they were really doing well, and they had some good shoes for that market, like the Gambler.
The Gambler was the one because Nick designed that, didn't he?
Yeah, great shoe for
good shoe.
That mainstream
that was
guy.
The Matt Hensley Pro model.
Yeah. But they sold that into office in like 5 different colorways. Yeah, and it's a nice looking shoe. It's like a Puma State, really. Yeah. And it was like, would you be interested in coming as team manager? Blah blah blah. I was like, yeah. Like, what's the deal? How much do you need? How much would you like? I'm like, just pull a figure out of my arse, say 30 grand. What sort of travel budget do you need? I never had one in my life. I was like, 30 grand. And he was like, oh, let me think about it, blah, blah, blah. Come back. Like a week later, or 2 days later, he calls me. He was like, can't get to this on the budget, but we can pay you X. And I was like, I'm in. Let's go. So I came up, and I was like, I've got a job again. Brilliant. I'm not back on the building site. So then it was like, okay, you got a lot of guys on the team who'd been on a long time, who were like, I'm not older, they were younger than me, but they were the older generation street skaters, some good ones. Channer was on, Harry, some other like proper heads from the scene.
Yeah, who else was on there at that time? There was
Paul Sylvester.
Yeah, that's right.
When I inherited it, it was Harry, who Harry wasn't really skating, I don't think. Channer wasn't really skating at that point. They'd all sort of like veered off in different directions.
Shipman was on for a bit, wasn't he? Briefly, real quick.
Yeah, but that was via me.
Right.
Trying to get him on, but it didn't quite happen.
Because there's that photo Halsey took of him doing the front side flip disaster. He's got.
I've never seen
that. He's got no stickers apart from a Duff sticker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Somewhere.
Maybe that's before.
I think it's after.
I sent him some bits and tried to get him on, and it just didn't quite happen. But yeah, so they had all these guys on. Some of them were getting paid. What's his name? In Nottingham guy. You'd know him. No, not Helicar. Younger. Scotty.
Scotty
Underdown. Yeah, he was on as well. There was a few of them on there, and they were like I sort of knew some of them, but not really. And but they were paying some of them, and I was like, you just can't pay with these guys. They're like, not that they're not good, but like, you ain't got the budget for this. Like, what you should be doing is giving more kids shoes and spending more money on going on trips and doing stuff, being interactive with make people aware you're actually backing this skateboarding.
Yeah.
Because like throwing £100 a month for a few bods that don't really do much, not that helpful. Whereas you spend £500 on an event, all the kids in that area go, whoa, that's cool. Duffs is cool. So that was my sort of
You can go to another country for cheaper and do like a tour.
Absolutely.
And a video.
If you've got good riders and they're up for it and they're young and they want to get some, like you can go anywhere and be productive. So and my attitude was always like, I always felt like I'm a bit on borrowed time. Like I'm like, I didn't do this when I was 12. I didn't even get to the point where I'm like, I want to be a proper skateboarder until I was like 29, because I'm like 29 years old. I've just seen how to skate. They've just shown me that's what I skate like, but I need to do it like that now. And now I'm like 29. I've got to get it now. But obviously, I thought I was on borrowed time. I had like 20 years of actually getting properly stuck in. Yeah. But like, so we had I put Carl on, Ben came on, and then we had Adam Howe, Rob ended up like Awad. We had an amazing team, like a really diverse team, because Duffs was actually okay. Like it wasn't that cool to like the cool dudes, but it was certainly cool enough. And I was like,
it was core enough.
Yeah, it was cool enough, but also the product was all right, and there was a budget, and there was someone who was going to look out for you. Do you know what I mean? So like, I'm like, look, you could hold out to try and get on that, but and this is before Nike and all those big boys came in, but like it worked out really good because we had a budget that we would travel a lot, do a lot of trips all together, film a lot.
Yeah, I think around that time it was probably one of the most sort of travelled teams in the UK. I mean, it was like that was your crew, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that whole ruthless attitude to like, same as when I was snowboarding, it's like, we're going to live in the house, we're going to get it.
Yeah.
You ain't living in the house with us if you're not going to get up every day and fucking go and kill yourself. That's what we do. And like, I'm the team manager. I don't have to do anything. But I want to shoot a photo every day because that's my thing. Like, I'm like, what's the point in me being here if I'm not going to try and push myself and get better? And then they're seeing that. Those kids grew up, like Raemers and Carl and that, they grew up with that. They saw me doing that every single day.
Yeah, if the team manager's getting it and you're
It's
not, you're blowing
yeah,
it.
you ain't coming on the next trip. And they knew. I wouldn't have to say it. They knew it.
That's what I say when I go filming. If you don't do a trick on this session, I'm not inviting you on. I obviously always do because it's.
Yeah, but like
it's my mates. Sometimes that pressure's good.
Absolutely.
Like if you're not getting it, what we giving you the money for?
Yeah. And
it's a wasted seat.
Let's bring someone else.
It's a wasted seat in the car if you're not.
100%. I had that attitude on every trip we ever went on. I was like, I'm not going to have to say it to you. You're just going to know. You know, you're going to know that next time when we go on the next trip, what we're going to do, bring the young kid who's never been on a trip before, who's desperate to be involved in this shit, who's going to kill himself to try and get to the next trip, or the guy who's been on 100 trips who just I need to shoot one photo this week. You know, like it ain't about the one photo that's going to go in the magazine. It's about getting involved. It's like doing the thing. Yeah, and then like if you're all doing the thing, everyone's doing better shit. Everyone gets better. So I had that attitude always, and we did that with Duffs. It was amazing. Like I feel really lucky. Like we created a real, like a pretty tight knit, but look like they're a long way apart. Like Rob Smith he was in Manchester. We had Awad in London. I was up from Essex. We had some dudes from Wales in the end. There was a couple of guys that come on from over there, like in sporadically. Actually, before Airwalk there was a couple of dudes from there because you couldn't get bods. You know, it wasn't like you could go after the heaviest hitters. No one wanted to ride for it. Yeah, so we ended up having, a really cool. Mateus was on there, ridiculous. Like standard of skateboarding on that team at that time was next level. Probably the best team that was put. I mean, obviously, Pauli ended up doing Vans. And they had some good, like a really good crew at a similar time. But like, they could hold their own big time against anyone. It was rad. Like we'd go on trips. We'd do all of the events in England. You know, go on trips all the time. Because we had a little bit of budget. Never had a budget before. I'm going to use every penny trying to get everyone doing as much as we can. And the more everyone did it together, the more they wanted to do it together.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So it was really cool.
Still hard to get budgets now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
but that whole crew was dead hungry, weren't they?
Yeah.
And you kind of, especially with Ben and Carl, that was kind of ingrained in them.
That's all they saw.
You're here. You're lucky to be in that position.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and they appreciated it.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Yeah. Well, I appreciated being there all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'd spend a long time without it. Now I've got a bit of budget and we can go someplace and we don't have to pay for these shoes or don't have to get this or that.
Yeah. Best believe you're going to make the most of it.
Come on, like this ain't going to last forever.
So with the Duffs thing, I mean, how did that come to an end? I mean, Ben was still riding for Duffs until he got on Converse, wasn't he?
Yeah,
basically. He was at the Berwick's, wasn't he? Still riding Duffs.
Yeah, he was. So he did a banging.
Yeah,
he did a banging there. Yeah, which is amazing. So, I think what happened was Duffs. So I was still at Duffs, and the guy who owned, like Nick had left, but like Nick's a really nice guy, and I really like Nick, and I learned a lot from him actually.
Yeah,
just because his energy, he's like positive. Let's fucking go. We're all gonna do it. It's all gonna be good. Like, and when I met him, I was like, fuck, I want to work with this guy. Like, he's cool. And then I had an opportunity to work for them. But it was like I could do whatever I wanted, how I wanted it, left to my own devices. It's exactly how I like working.
Yeah.
But, and always over deliver. And then what happened was Nick had left, Alex took over, and Alex, never a skateboarder.
He was a bit flaky, wasn't he?
And he's basically a shyster, really. He's not a businessman. He worked for a distribution company and rolled it for like £1 million, owed a load of people money, set up again. And he's pretty good at persuading bods to back him, but he's not very good at running a profitable business. So he did the same with Duffs. What ended up with Duffs is it's sort of after Nick had left, it wasn't Nick leaving, it nosedived. It was just like the market was changing, more players were coming in. He had lost the high street element of the sales, so weren't there. And then ended up, they were selling a lot to TK.
Yeah.
So like TK Maxx was like their main fucking outlet. They were selling a lot of shoes and, people would buy them because everyone knew the brand. And to me, there was there's an element of like, okay, you got no legit sales, but who cares? You're selling a lot there, and the guy who wants to buy your shoes recognizes the brand from when it was wherever, and now he's buying it there. And he would rather that's where he's buying it there. He's not the guy who's like floating around. Like he might, look for bargains at skate stores, and if they're not there, he'll go and have a look and see if there's any skate shoes in there. And there was a lot
from TK Maxx in the past.
Yeah, but they sold like 10,000 pairs a month. You know what I mean, to TK. It was a lot of numbers. So but at the same time, there was still a budget for the team. We were still doing stuff, and there was a lot of stuff going on. But that was just their outlet.
Yeah, and people, they might have talked shit on that, but at the end of the day, selling those shoes allowed that to happen.
100%.
And there's similar things that happen now where like people talk shit on brands and people riding for whatever energy drink company, but they're the ones that facilitate that lifestyle.
They pay for the guy to go on the trip,
going away on trips, and he doesn't have to work in McDonald's.
If you were waiting for your board brand to pay for it, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, money in a board.
Absolutely. So I'll say what happened was I had I had a bit of a thing in my head. It was like, I don't want to be the old guy in the van who's not having it. It's just not me. And not while I was getting to that point in my head, I was like, I'm still really having it. But then obviously Ben and Carl and all of that, those guys were like, they're another level of skateboarder to me. So I like when I started skating with them, like when I started skating with Carl and Ben, especially Carl, it was like Carl was a rollerblader that wasn't any good, and then he started skating. I met him at this local park where he lived, Brightlingsea, pretty shit park, basic, little hips and mini ramp or whatever. And he started skating. He was like, this kid's either gonna die, or he's gonna get good because he's trying shit that's way out of his league. But he would like learn, he'd do one and then he'd be on to the next. So he'd like do front board down a little rail and he'd make it once, sketchy, and then he'd be like front board, shove it straight into trying that. Then front blunt, like whatever, just like bam, bam, bam. And you're like going down. But because he's so light and somehow gets away with murder, and he's the same on mini ramp, you could, but how do you do that? Teach him, look, you do it, he could do it. But he just didn't get off, and you were like, he's either going to completely kill himself and never be able to skate again because it's like what he's doing is way above his ability, or he's just going to get good, and he got good. So he was like, then it was like me and him, and then we met Ben, and then it was like me, him, and Ben, and then Ben was the same, with more ability, but like it was weird with Ben because he was like this little tiny dude, this shitty park that. It's like every person who ever went to that park taught him a trick. So he was like this little 12, like someone told me about a guy called Paul Mutton. He was like, this kid at Walton, you should go and have a look at him. Because everyone knew I was like the team.
Where's that? Sorry,
Walton-on-the-Naze. It's near Clacton.
So that's where Ben was from, right?
Yeah, like a really shitty, run-down seaside town.
Yeah.
Like it is just...
Essex, right?
Yeah. So you got Clacton, which is pretty famous, and Walton-on-the-Naze is next to it, with a pier, like all falling apart. But so we went there, and he was there, and I'm gonna say he was like 12, but it was like every guy that had ever been there taught him a trick. So he could do like a boneless, like a decent boneless. Like, so who's fucking taught him that? It's like this little kid. Pressure flip. Like 12-year-old kids don't know how to do pressure flips, you know. Not unless, you know, they've got their dads taught them and he's like, you know, mid-30s or something, you know, he learned in the 90s. And then he could do like a little frontside air and, you know, basics, quite a good little kick flip. And you're like, it's like all the eras have taught him a trick. And then we rocked up and he was like chasing us around, like big smile on his face, proper little chav. And then we met his mum and I was just like, you know, like, we're not weirdos. This is what we do. We travel around, we do demos. This is our job. And like, if your kid wants to come with us, you know, you're welcome to jump in the van. Because we took other kids out with us and often they just like freeze and shit themselves. Like all of these guys are psycho and they're like 12 or 13 years old and they're like, I can just watch.
So at that stage when you first met Ben's mum to Ben coming out on trips with you, how old was Ben then?
12, 13.
Right.
Yeah. And that was it. So basically his mum was like, yeah, take him. Yeah. Take him away. And to the point where none of this made any sense at the time. And now it makes a lot more sense. Now what's unraveled is unraveled. But like at the point, we were just like, she was like, he's really angry. He's like a really angry boy. I'm like, and then when in hindsight, you're like, there's 5 of you living in a 1-bedroom flat with a smelly dog and no money. It's damp on the walls, and there's no dad around, and mum's essentially an alcoholic. Yeah. It ain't a good situation. No wonder he's fucking angry.
So it was Ben, his sister Lucy, and
he's got 2 older brothers.
That's right, 2 older brothers.
It's like bedroom DJ dudes. They were quite nice guys actually, and his mum, and so we literally would. Normally Carl. So at the time I was living in Ipswich. Yeah. So Carl was living in Brightlingsea. Carl would drive out to Walton and then meet me. And then every Friday, so on a Friday we'd pick him up, and on Sunday night we'd drop him off. And the whole weekend he was with us for the next 8 years. Yeah. Like every weekend. And when we first met him, he had an eating disorder of some kind where he'd be sick all the time. And he was in a home, like put him in a home. So he's had no interaction with like bots, like older dudes who were like trying to help him. Like no dad, no involvement. His brothers were just like muddling through as well. And we were like, mate, you got to sort this out. Like if you're going to be a skateboarder, like we were immediately. I was like, he's going to be ridiculous, this kid. Like straight away, I was telling everyone within 6 months, 8 months of meeting him, I was like, I got the kid, I got the one, I got the new one, the best thing I've ever seen. Like Andy Scott, we're at that level, you know, like Jedi, and we basically explained to him, if you get hurt and you're not eating, you ain't going to recover. So you need to sort this shit out. Yeah, and he did. And
so what was he doing? He was just being sick all the time.
I think it was like
excitement or nervousness.
Excitement, and just like it wasn't like a conscious thing. He would eat. I mean, he's eating terrible food. Like, I mean, in hindsight, now I spoke to Lucy after Ben died, and she was like, their mum never ever cooked him a meal. Yeah. She literally made a pot of whatever, ate some herself, and then just left it on the stove. If you want to eat it, you go and get it out of there. She never cooked him a meal.
So that maybe that routine.
He had none of it. Like he had none. So, and we weren't, you know, in a position where we were going, oh, we're going to really help this kid out. You know, it's like, fuck, he's rad. Let's get him in the van. And he just came with us. And he was like, it was like a little, like to me, it was like a kid before I had a kid, or a little brother to all of us. And we all looked out for him, looked after him. And it was like Frankenstein's monster. It was like, he was like, how do you do that? And you're like, do this, put your arm there, grab there, look. He could do it. 3 goes. He can do it better than you. And then every week we'd give him homework. We leave and we go, right, this week the challenge is, like, it was all mini ramp initially, and then because he was skating tranny with us, and it was like frontside challenge, 5-0, Smith, tail slide, back to back to back, then stop, then backside, 50, like, you know, just learn the tricks, and then come back. You're like, learnt them, what do I do next? And you're like, alley-oops, 360s, whatever, like, taught him how to do McTwist. None of us had ever done a McTwist. We were like, it's just like bad. So, like, we were too pussy. None of us committed to it. Like, we'd all spin it, and I'd like land on my shins on the coping a few times.
Where was the first? Was it at Peterborough? Yeah. So at Y2 Skate, and he was 14.
13.
13.
Yeah.
And
13.
like it's
He
kind
did a padless one. Berry.
it's kind of hard to
Ridiculous.
put it into perspective because kids they're like 7 and doing 900s now, but at the time 5. So there was very few people in the UK like Ali Khan's.
Yeah.
There was probably who else? Andy Scott. Yeah. But for that, it was kind of
one.
and
No one.
at that age, it was
no,
like,
no one at all.
But
what was amazing about that was, I would say about 6 months before, we went to Weymouth on a little road trip, and
as you do.
yeah, it was like a mini ramp there. It was like a small vert ramp, really. It was like 9 foot. It looked rad. You were like, oh, okay, this is going to be rad. We can learn some stuff. Like, it was always like trying to go to different parks and learn new bits. And we turned up there, and that was the biggest thing he'd ever tried to skate. And he shit himself. Like, he was sitting on the platform like that. Like,
I think
right
you've told me
back.
this story before.
He was like really scared. I was like, you're shitting yourself. What's the matter? And he was like, oh, I just don't feel very well. I said, you're scared. And he said, no, I don't feel very well. I said, you're fucking scared. I said, get in there. You can do this. Just drop in. He wouldn't do it. About 3 months later, he was doing a 540.
It's fucked,
Like,
isn't
it was
it?
wild. Like, as soon as we got him in, and it was like rock fakey, hang up, blah, blah. And then it was like, okay, we were all skating vert a bit at that point. We were skating Peterborough a lot. It was a nice small vert ramp, friendly. All of us were like skating it once or twice a week. All through that winter, we skated all the time. And then by the end of that winter, he did a 540. It was wild.
Well, it just shows you his raw talent there.
Oh,
like,
it's unbelievable. But then we made him go skate with other boards. Like, it was like he was getting labelled as a bit of a tranny skater because of all of us. And Carl could skate everything, but he never really got recognised as a good all-rounder. He was like, oh, they just skate tranny. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, that's fair enough. Yeah. I did. They didn't. But then it was like, start skating with Adam and those dudes who were technically...
So it was Dave Davies, Adam Howe.
Yeah.
Who else was there down there? There was a few street.
Yeah, Minter.
That's right.
Frank was about a little bit, but mainly it was like Minter was like Adam's guy down there.
I mean, Adam Howe still to this day is killing it. Like, he was such a nice dude.
Yeah.
And technically...
Unbelievable. Well, when he was like, 14, 15, he should have been at school. He wasn't. It was a skate park.
Yeah.
And he would do like 40 trick lines without falling. Flip in, flip out. Like, are you
consistency,
like, what is going on with that kid? So, like, we were like, Ben, go and skate with Adam and those guys at least once a week. At least once a week. And then he learned all that shit too.
Yeah.
And then by the time he went to like getting to the point where he was, we kept him out of magazines. We kept him off of the radar a bit until like Urban Games, and then he came third in that and won like 500 notes. He'd never seen that much money in his life. But again, Ben was such a nice dude. He came back, like he just gave, like, he bailed his mum out with the money. You know, it was like, because they had like debt collector on something like that, and he just like, it's like, I'll just have that money. Like, they were going to take his brother's decks away or something like that. It was like, he was always like that. That was, I don't know, it's so hard. Like now, in hindsight, it's frustrating from my perspective to not have him about, but completely understandable at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, what he went through there was hard as a kid, and you know, and it became like, once he got beyond that level, and you were like, he's on. You know, we kept him away from British board brands on purpose. So you're like, you need to go on a Yank board brand straight away, end up being Consolidated, which is a great fit for him initially. And, you know, Volcom was a great fit. But we, like, actively, the first interview he had in a magazine was in Kingpin, not in Sidewalk. 14 pages. It had, like, paddless 540s. It had...
14?
Yeah.
A 14-page
Yeah, it's massive.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. Like, it was like, who's this guy?
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's like a quarter of the mag.
Yeah, it was massive. But he had like backside flip on, you know, I don't know, 12, 14 stairs or something. Feeble grinds down handrails, paddless 540s. Yeah. You had it everything.
Yeah, you could skate
and you were
everything.
Like, whoa, who's this? You know?
You skated everything so good.
Oh, mate, absolutely. With a great style.
Yeah.
And, but that was the thing with him. You just wanted to watch him. It's like when you would see Andy Scott skate, he was like, just stay on.
Yeah.
Just the longer you stay on, the better it's going to get.
Yeah.
And Ben was the same.
Yeah, it's good to watch.
It was brilliant.
The first time I was filming with Ben was when you and Carl and Ben, and I seem to remember some other kids being there. Maybe it was Adam. I don't know. We were at Stevenage, and Ben was in the bathtub, the half pipe.
Yeah.
And he was doing lean to tails, frontside bonus and stuff. And I remember you saying to him, like, go and talk to him, like to me, go and ask him to film. And Ben came up and like, you know how polite he was.
Yeah.
He was like, would you mind filming this, please? And like, so polite.
Yeah.
And then filmed. I wish I could find that tape because it's like the first session. And he must have only been 13.
Yeah, he was little.
14.
Yeah. When we were
around
filming
then.
for the death video.
I think it must have been around then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would
because
have
you were in town to get footage for the urethane part.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You were just there. Anyway. But yeah, you know, I mean, anyone who met Ben would have had stories
100%.
about how nice a dude he was. And like one that when Lucy came to visit here a few years back, I was telling her about it when we went on the big push. And it was when Ben was still on Consolidated.
Yeah.
And he was he was the special guest for the deaf team. So we were, you know, not everyone had mobile phones, and we had 2 cars. So we had walkie-talkies. So you the two vehicles could communicate.
Yeah.
So everyone, you know, it's like give skateboarders a voice. It's like just you know, insults to one car to the other, and then you give it to Ben. He's like, Ben, talk some shit to these guys, and he'd just be like, how are you? Are you okay? Like, just the nicest dude. You couldn't force him to be to be lame. It was just he was just that dude.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, I wasn't close with Ben by any means, but like whenever I'd see him, he would always have time for you. And like, you know, like we came here, didn't we, to film that Christmas edit? Yeah. And like at that point, he was on Enjoi and doing really well. And like, you know, it's just like nobody had a bad word to say about him. It was just...
I ran into him twice in London when I was in London quite a lot, and he was with his missus. I can't remember where, maybe like Shoreditch or somewhere around
he
those
used to live
areas.
around there,
And just having a board, he'd always stop and be like, "Are you?" Well, the 2 times he was like, "Oh, you all right? How are you doing?" And I was just like, "I'm not skating. I've got a board, but I'm here with." And I always regret not messaging him, just being like, "I ran into you in London," but he was like, "Enjoi, pro for Enjoi in Converse." I was like, "You don't want to bother some people."
Yeah.
Because you think that
he's the
they're
nicest
probably
guy.
constantly doing something. But...
And it's kind of, you know, with his upbringing and that home life, for him to be that nice,
unreal.
It's like it's out of character.
Not standoffish.
It's not what you would have expected.
What was really cool about Ben, he didn't have an ego.
Yeah, he didn't.
None. Like, whereas, and actually probably that's part of his downfall. In the end, because when you get to that level, an ego is pretty helpful, just to sort of ride the storm as such. You know, like you can bat things away with an ego, but when you don't have one, like he never had one. He couldn't understand. We didn't recognise what he was doing. Like he would do, like, so when I started skating with Carl and Ben, I would always do the best trick. Because I'm having it, I'm the older guy, I'm fucking getting stuck in, and I'm sort of like, I'm going. And then once Carl started elevating, he started getting good, it would be like, I'd do it, Carl would do sometimes the best trick of the day. And then Ben started coming through, and it was then Carl mainly, sometimes me, now and again Ben. Then it was, I didn't give a fuck whether I did the best trick I've ever done in my life. That was never near the best trick of the day, because what they were doing, their skating was on another level to me. But I was still like going, wow, this is amazing. I'm getting skate with these kids. Like, I'm helping them along. They're helping me along to keep me in the loop and making me better. I'm loving it. But I never, like, it didn't matter what I did. I'd do the best trick I've ever done, and it would be like 4th best trick of the day. You know, like, and it was like that every day. But Ben had no idea that. He was like, oh, you did that. And you're like, did you not see what you did over there? Like, you did
a paddler's twist.
Yeah, like the best thing that anyone's ever done here. But in your head, like, that's how I could do that. But like, that's good, because he recognised when it was good for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he'd be like, oh, fuck, that was gnarly. Like, what you just did there was like the best thing. Like, that's like, and in his head, that's like the best thing of the day, because it's the best thing you could ever do at the time. Where what he's doing is like, it's better than everybody else, but he's still on like 4th gear. There's a couple more gears if he wants to go up. Do you know what I mean? But he didn't even know that at the time. But yeah, he's just like that story when we went to Marseille. I mean, you about the shark and when he had all the sweets. Like, he's like the nicest kid. So have you heard that story before?
No,
like,
I think
so he's so little. The shoes didn't fit him. So this is probably Airwalk. It is Airwalk. And he was like, oh, just wear size 6. And you're like, you're a size 4, mate. He's like, well, just wear more socks. And you're like, seriously, it'd be like wearing a fucking pair of wellies. Just don't bother, you know, just like, and what we end up doing, like me and Carl, I can't remember, it's just, I think just me and Carl and Pete King, a few of us were going to go to Marseille for a comp. It was the Bowl Riders, but it wasn't like the 99 one. It was like, I don't know, early 2000s. Still good. A lot of heavy hitters there. And I said, we need to take Raemers. Like the first video I gave him was Great Lakes Tour Deluxe, which is TNT, Tony Trujillo, when he's like 15. Yeah. And I'm like, watch this. That's how you go skateboarding. Like all of the dudes are in that video. It's great. It's raw. It's exactly what we were doing in a van on that level. And they were all getting stuck in as TNT as a little kid. So it was perfect for Ben to like get stuck into, and he did. And he watched it relentlessly. And I just watch that. That's skateboarding. You know?
Down there, watch
just like give it to him and left it with him. He watched it every night, and that's what, you know, that definitely helped shape what he thought skateboarding was. And then I'm like, I can't say we're taking this 13, 14-year-old kid to Marseille because he's not even on the team. We don't do shoes that fit him, and no one knows who he is. So I gave more shoes to everybody, and we sold them, and then we paid for his flight. And he's never been on a plane. And we get on this plane, he's really excited, he's like sitting near the window, we fly, and on the way to Marseille, you do this big bank turn over the Mediterranean, and you can see the beach and whatever. And as we fucking do this turn, he's sitting there, he's really excited, he's like, shark, shark. Everyone's like, the fuck? And they're all looking out the window. It's the fucking shadow of the plane. And we're like, oh, and he was like, I said, "It's the shadow of the plane, you prick." And he was like, oh god, and he was like hiding in his seat. And the whole week, like we were there like weekend, he was fucking having it. Like he couldn't drink. He's at the pub. We're at the pub. Like we skate all day, and we're like, we're going to the pub now. It's just over the road. You can skate. So we'd skate until like 1 a.m. We come back and he's still ripping, and then we'd all walk back to the hotel, and like carrying Pete King a couple of nights back. He was off his head. And it's a really fun trip, and he was like in awe of all the dudes, like Rune was there, and Omar, and they were all like TNT was there. All these guys that he's all grown up watching on video were like they were there, and he was like he wasn't in the comp, but he just watched them. And then afterwards, everyone's skating together, like just rad sessions every night. And at the end of the trip, his mum gave him a score like 20 quid, and we cover everything. You don't need to give him any money, so good. So we get to he'd not spent a penny. We get to the airport, and he says...
on the way back?
Yeah, on the way back. Everyone's fucked. Everyone's like over it, hurt, tired. And we get to the airport, and he's like, drops all of his money on Haribo, and he's chomping. He's fucking like really going for it. And then we get to go on this plane, and he's losing his shit. Like he's on a sugar high beyond belief. And I said, he's really getting carried away. And I was like, give me the fucking sweets. And he was like, no. And I said, give me the sweets, Ben. And he was like, no, they're mine. I bought them. It's my money, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, mate, give me the fucking sweets. I said, I'm not your mum. I'm not your dad. I will knock you out. Give me the sweets. And he was just like, and I said, you've got one more go at this. Either give me the sweets or I'm going to knock your teeth out. And he was like, give him over. And I said, give that fucker some water and I do not speak to us anymore. Like, we were over it. Everyone was over it because he was being a bit of a pest. And we sit on the plane. He sits there sipping water, says nothing the whole trip back. And we're all tired. We get off the plane and we're all sitting there waiting for the luggage to come round. And everyone's over him at that point. We're like, he's just a prick. You know, that kid's just turned into a prick. He's been great the whole trip and he just got carried away and he was a bit of a prick. And he says, oh, I've got something to say to everyone. Can everyone just sit down? So we're all sitting in this line, about 6 or 7 of us, like me and Cole and a few others. And he said, I've had a really good trip and I've realised something. You lot turn into dicks when you drink and I turn into a dick when I eat lots of sweets. So I'm really sorry about that and I'd like to come on another trip with you. Okay. And we were like, all looked at each other like, what the fuck are you meant to do with that? Like, what a cool kid. Yeah. Like, and that was it. Like, he was in the van for like the next 10 years. Yeah. But like, that's him amazing. In a nutshell. Yeah. You know, like, absolutely, that's him, and it was him all the way through his entire life.
Yeah.
You know, like he was like the most genuine, nicest dude. And I think what he struggled with, the hardest thing for him was being the guy. You know, because he turned into the fucking guy. Like he's escaped skateboarding, and he couldn't do it anymore because everywhere he went, everyone knew who he was. It's like, go there and you're like, Ben Raemers is here, let's film him. What's he going to do?
Yeah, well,
it's
we were saying, like, no one, I don't think anyone after Raemers has done that American, like, invasion. You know what I mean? Like,
not on that
Rowley
level.
did it, Penny did it, Ben did it.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else after that
No.
so far that's, like,
Elevated to
gone
that level.
overseas on an American company worldwide.
Yeah.
Know who he is. I don't think anyone's done that
No.
since.
It's
I think
hard. I mean,
Raemers is
it's
the last
it's
person
fucking
that's
hard
done
to
it.
do.
when he got the Thrasher front cover, the first one, and
So I think he had 2 or 3.
three.
didn't
He had 3. First one, frontside invert.
King of the Road in the corpse.
No, another
the
one.
King
It's in a
Diamond.
pool.
Daytime pool.
Yeah, amazing photo.
The
So
frontside invert
frontside
one.
invert.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got 2 frontside invert. One's the King of the Road.
Yeah.
The other
This
one's
is
like
the
the
King Diamond.
Yeah.
paint.
Yeah, the first one, he called me, and like we talked quite a bit, even when he was away. But normally when he was coming back, so no, I'm coming back. Should we go for a skate, whatever? And he called me. I was in the car, and he says, "I said, are you back?" And he was like, "No, I'm coming back soon." Blah blah blah. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I got the cover of Thrasher." And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, and he was like, "I said, what trick you doing?" He said, "Frontside invert." I said, "In a pool?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Straight arm?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like,
Fuck
yeah, Ben. Like,
Yeah.
when's it coming out? And he was like, "Oh yes." He goes, "I couldn't believe it." He said, "I couldn't believe it." He said, I don't think I deserve it." I said, "Mate, you're on the front cover of Thrasher."
Yeah.
Like,
You're
you
still-
can't even imagine that. Like, from my perspective, like, that's like winning the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, now it's in the Olympics, but like, from like as an athlete, if you win the Olympics, that's like top level.
Yeah, like in our game.
In our
that's
game,
the-
that was it.
That's the thing, isn't
You
it?
know,
Yeah.
and not only that, it's like one of the best tricks you can do.
Yeah.
In a pool, and I taught him that trick, but he did it way better than me.
Yeah.
Like straight away, and just like it was, I was just fucking mind blown.
Couldn't you see the Essex?
Yeah, it's
tattoo
on
as well?
there. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
man, like, so
Yeah,
his
yeah.
hands down. It's
Yeah.
like 3 swords.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah.
Ticking
like,
all the
come
boxes.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
mate. Incredible. And actually, that pool ain't friendly.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. You see the footage of it. It's tight. It's not like a nice, friendly, like skate parky type pool. It's a proper pool.
Did he get was there like a cover reveal for that one? I know they did.
Nah.
So they did when he turned pro.
Yeah.
They did him reading through the
As
mag.
far as I'm aware, no. I never seen that.
Yeah.
But he had that, and then he had a doubles one with Louis,
Yeah.
where he's doing a backside bonus on that 3/4 pipe thing, and Louis doing like a back crail halfway up the tranny. And then he had another frontside invert with all of the dudes on the King of the Road.
Fucking bad.
But like, this kid's fucking from Walton-on-the-Naze,
Yeah,
man. Go
yeah.
to the skate park there
and then
and tell me whether that guy's going to end up on the end of the front cover of Thrasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That ain't never going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
wild. But then also after Ben died, like the amount of people that were like worldwide going, "He's my favourite skateboarder.
Yeah.
He's my favourite skateboarder."
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I
The
didn't-
influence that he had on people because of the way he was,
Yeah.
was massive.
And I mean, I didn't go, but the funeral at the skate park, you know, like the amount of people, big names.
Ramode.
Yeah.
Everyone was there.
Yeah. Like insane. You know,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
crazy times.
Yeah, it was wild, but also, I mean, it's really it is fucking sad that you know, it ends up in that vein, in that way. But when you know the backstory, everyone's like, "Oh well, you know, like he's a pro skateboarder, he did everything." It's like, why would he?
Yeah.
Like, if you know the background to where he comes from, and then what's going on personally for him, like he's hurt. You've got all these kids coming up that are just smashing it left, right, and centre. You're on borrowed time, you know it. And, you know, it is frustrating because you're like, you always got the what if with suicide. Like, literally, I don't know if you've been speaking to that Ryan Sherman about the documentary. And that is amazing. He's done a brilliant job. And I never met Barney before that. But, like, that whole...
Oh, is that a Raemers documentary?
Yeah, it's all about
like,
Barney doing the
skate
from John O'Groats to Land's End.
Yeah.
He's done a beautiful job. Like that
Yeah,
film is
looks
amazing.
good.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And they've done a really great job of talking about the heaviest subject you can, but in a way that makes sense. And I think that, like, for me, I'm pretty open about that, about suicide. Like, it ain't unusual. You know, like, nearly everyone I know has thought about suicide at some point. It's not, if you think it's unusual, then you don't tell anyone, and you're quiet, and it's like, oh.
It's like you say in the documentary, isn't it? It's like a macho cover-up thing, isn't it? Guys don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're guys.
At the end of the day,
it shouldn't be like that.
Everyone's having a hard time out there.
Yeah.
And if you know there are other people having a hard time, you're more likely to say, I'm having a hard time, and you can talk about it. And then you think, oh, well, I'm not the only one having a hard time.
Everyone's having a hard time at some time. You know what I mean?
100%. But that's the thing, is like and I think what's really interesting with Ben is that obviously when Ben died, that was a shock.
I think that's what opened up the skateboarding community to talking about suicide now, because before that,
always a lot of it was like, oh, we lost another good one.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't lose another good one. He committed suicide. Let's get to the actual crux of it. He committed suicide. That's not the same as losing somebody. Yeah, his family have lost him, but actually,
like death, like
if we talk about that, the more we talk about it, the more it's a subject that, like, if someone knows, if you're feeling shitty and you're feeling potentially suicidal, there's still a long way to go from potentially feeling a bit like that to going and doing something, right?
Yeah.
So that's a long road, but also that road, you sort of can swerve people who can affect it, and you go down that road on your own.
Yeah.
Like, I've been down that road a little way, and it ain't very nice, and it's fucking hard to come back, but I've managed to, because there's some positives in my life that outweigh the negatives. But when you start going further down there, you can't see the positives, and you're not in that zone. But if you can start opening that conversation up, where you can say, I feel like that earlier, and other people go, I felt like that before, and you're still here, and you realise that half the people you know, who you think they've got their shit together and they've got a good life and all of their stuff's going in the right direction, and you're like, whoa, I didn't realise he had felt like that, or they have felt like that, and then it becomes, okay, I'm not the only one. It's a much easier thing to understand, and then realise we're all having a fucking hard time. We're all muddling through with absolute bare minimum tools. We've all inherited shit from our parents, good and bad.
Yeah.
But actually, until we look at it, like I've done quite a bit of counselling over the years.
We'll talk more about that side of things in a bit.
But that's part of it. Like, understanding what is going on for everybody else, and not being judgmental, going, oh, well, why do you feel like that? Why wouldn't you? Shit goes down for everybody in different ways in different times.
Most of the time, you don't know why you feel like that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think
it's annoying, isn't it, when you know, when people say we lost another one, like accidental death and old age death, it's different to someone physically dying by their own hand is so much more worse, like so much worse.
I agree. Crazy. Because actually that's preventable. Like, an accidental death is an accident.
Yeah.
Old age is age.
But death by your own hand can be stopped.
It can be prevented.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to prevent it and stop more people doing it is by talking about it. And not swerving it. Don't swerve the issue and go, oh, we lost a good one. Yeah, we did. But let's start talking about that. And then, like I said at his funeral, which is probably the hardest thing I've ever have to do, talk about one of my best mates, who's like way younger than me.
27.
Yeah, 27, 28.
Yeah, it's fucked,
it's gnarly. You know, he was like my kid before I had a kid.
This is it. It's like,
and I've got to stand here in front of you lot and tell you what this means. But also in my head, I was like, I've got to do this. I've got to deliver this, one for him, and one so everyone knows that this is not the way forward. We need to be opening the discussion. Something positive needs to come from this. And the only thing positive can come from it is more people talking about it, which means less people are going to end up down that road.
And that's less action, you know, the positive spin to that is the Ben Raemers Foundation.
Absolutely.
And Lucy and those guys have done really good. And that, you know, it's a prominent
It's just keeping it...
source.
Don't get me wrong. He'd fucking hate it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I said to Barney, like, when I watched the documentary, the Land's End documentary, I said, he would hate it.
Yeah.
He would hate his head
fuss,
is in the
the
bowl.
attention.
He would hate his name's on that thing.
The
He would
logo,
hate... Oh, mate, it's not him at all. But... And she's speaking to Barney. Barney was like, he'd fucking hate it, wouldn't he? And I said, 100%. And he said, you know what? Every step of the 941 miles that he did on the skateboard to raise money for the foundation and awareness for suicide, blah, 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 every day when it got shit, like half of that was raining.
Yeah.
You know, he's pushing down the street 35 miles a day from one end of the country to the other. And every day, he said, when it got too shit and it was really hard, it was just like, he'd fucking hate this. Fuck you, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what kept him going. I was like, that's amazing. I said, and I sent Barney a message afterwards. I said, like, because I'd never really met him. I met him when he was little, but not really ever since. Yeah. And we had a big chat at that premiere. And I sent him a message just saying, you know, the film's amazing. Really proud of what you've done there. And just like, great. Keep, you know, because he's a real skateboarder. Like, he can skate everything. He kills it. He's a lovely guy. Or, you know, right, my type of skateboarder, you know, real ATV. And just said, I said, as hard as that was to watch, and he would have hated it, I think he would have loved to have been on that trip with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you two would have had a fucking whale of a time. You know, because they're similar type of skaters. Skate anything, little skate rats, do whatever.
From the
can
same
do
era.
everything, just can smash it. You know, and I think it was, it's a hard thing to, but I think like this, like these conversations are the things that change it, because actually they normalise suicide. Suicide is normal, and it's unfortunately rife in blokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't talk as much as women do. They don't talk as much as girls do, and they don't open up. And and probably that whole, man up and deal with it. Yeah, man up and deal with it, but deal with it in a way where you talk to each other, not by bottling it all up and pretending it's not there.
Yeah.
It's fucking there. It feels shit. Life is rubbish a lot of the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not worth going down that road, because it does. Like, life is like a roller coaster. You go. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's never good for everyone all the time, and even harder now when you've got all these dudes living through Instagram. Like,
everyone looks like they're living the best life ever, but you know that really they're not.
No.
That's literally like a minute of someone's week that's good.
Absolutely.
We were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, and you can make your life look. You can make your life looking amazing. I can.
Yeah.
You can do the same.
Your life is amazing, isn't it?
But like, you can make it look much, much more attractive than it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's
For
social
example-
media, like,
in a nutshell.
filter, isn't it?
For example, I know people that will go on holiday for like a week out of the year, and whilst you're on that holiday, they'll take 1,000 photos and they'll upload those through the whole year. So people following them are like,
wow,
she's always abroad, he's always abroad.
Yeah.
You're not, you're in an office.
So lame. Yeah.
And you're uploading a holiday picture once a week.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think social media has added to the amount of suicide in like society today?
I could imagine it probably.
If it hasn't, I'd be absolutely shocked. 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, the pressure, like, I think the pressure comes from every angle now, and it didn't before. Like, when I grew up, if you were getting bullied, you got bullied at school. Some arsehole's going to give it to you, and essentially that's all you learn at school.
No, you
like,
get
the world
bullied
is filled with arseholes, and they're going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And then when you learn that, then you're okay, I'm ready for the world.
but now you can get bullied
It's
by the
24/7.
world. You know what I mean?
by the whole world, 24/7. And actually,
Yeah, like when you go home from school,
It's on.
It's still there.
And it's on until you fall asleep. And
Probably
it's on when you
even
wake
more
up.
prominent.
From people who don't even know you. And also, it's sort of, they can be invisible. So they can give it to people they don't even know. Yeah. Harsh.
And get away with it.
And get
as
away,
well.
like, well, at least when you were getting it from someone you know, it's shit. But like, you're like, I know that guy, I'll avoid him. You can't avoid some twat on the internet. They're giving it to you 24/7. And if you put stuff out there, which everyone wants to, in some way, you know, that's going to affect you. And that affects the kids. Like, I've got two boys and a little girl, and my boys are like teenagers. It is gnarly for them. because they're comparing themselves. Like, I mean, I'm always like the realist in the room. Always, I'm like, these guys don't live like that. Like you said, oh, these kids want to grow up to be a YouTuber. That YouTuber's got 5 people getting paid to help him do that. He ain't doing that on his own. He's driven. He's organised. He's actually that. None of them get to the top of that without being really good at what they do. It looks easy. It's not. They work their arse off, you know. But that I totally what you're saying about suicide, 100%.
Yeah,
that will affect it. I mean,
I think it's just social pressure now that everyone's got to seem on form.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah. 24/7.
Everyone's got to market himself as being like, everything's going well, I'm fit and healthy. And it's like,
my
majority of the world isn't like that.
No,
fuck
no, not at all.
Nothing like that.
And I think that is, you know, it's amplified by social media. That's what it is. It's just amplified. It's the same as it was, but it's just like it's coming from every angle.
Because you're only posting your good shit.
Yeah.
Online, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're only seeing the best bits, like you said, of your week. Like I'll go skating on the weekend, but I'll post it through the week, and people have said to me like, "You're skating somewhere different every day," and I'm like, "I'm not," but for my social media, because I make clothing and stuff, I kind of dot it out through the week.
Yeah.
That's
only
only one
content to put out there.
That's only 1 or 2 sessions. I wish I could skate every day and work 2 days a week. Don't we all?
Yeah.
You haven't got enough tricks to skate every day, have you?
Well, I film.
Run out of content.
Obviously the Ben thing. I don't know if that, because I mean, we me and you have spoken about this briefly before, but you've had therapy. Was that because of Ben, since Ben, or was that during?
No.
Like what was set the scene for that? Because I think it's really good, like we were saying before, you know, to get people talking about this sort of shit, because I mean, a lot of people would benefit from therapy.
But everyone would, 100%.
Talk us through that as much as you want to.
For me, so I never even thought about it at all when I was growing up. No, you know, I can't like. I think my upbringing is pretty normal, but also pretty harsh in some ways. It's pretty like straight to the point, not lovey-dovey. Blah, blah, you know, it's not lovey-dovey and not that. I don't know. It's just not that type of family. Do you know what I mean? Which is a lot of families. But then I got divorced, and when I got divorced, or when it started to happen, I was like, bam, I'm going to therapy. I want counselling, whatever. I'd never been before. And I'm like a fixer. Like I'm like big time man brain. What's the practicality of this? This is wrong. This isn't working. I need to fix it. What have I got to do to fix it? So I went into therapy with that idea, and that's not how it works, but it does work. So what it ended up doing for me, and now I would suggest everyone goes. Like, even if, you know, like I go so I did about 2 years every week, and then probably a 3-4 year break, and I've been back in about a year and a half. And I think it's just, for me, it's like, I want to be better. Like, it's like skateboarding. I want to be better at skateboarding. So how I'm going to get better at skateboarding is be around good people, and they're going to help me. We're all going to help each other get along and move forward. And I see counselling as that. You know, having a chat with your mates is a form of counselling. But that isn't as objective as someone who doesn't know you. So
I completely agree. Outsiders' perspective on what you're telling them, because your mate's good to talk to, but you do sugarcoat it. 'Cause I'm doing therapy myself, and I said the exact same thing last week.
Yeah.
It's good having you telling me what I'm doing right and wrong, and where I'm being a dickhead and where I'm not. Because my mates will they'll avoid the being dickhead bit. You're doing great.
Yeah, you're good. You're
great.
okay. You're okay.
But saying that can be bad at yourself.
Absolutely.
Because you think you're doing better than you are. You need that random person to be like, hold on.
Yeah. What I do is that, for me, I like emotionally, I'm more emotional than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And because I'm more aware of what it is. What I used to have is like, I was really angry.
Get
was
upset,
good.
Get angry about
it's all
upset.
coming out as anger. But every emotion I feel, I'd literally feel it coming up through my body. Like I was running, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what to do with it. But it's all coming out as that. And which is pretty helpful as a skateboarder, There's a reason, you know, like, and I think with skating as well, skateboarding in itself, you've got to be a bit of a psycho to do it. It hurts like hell.
Yeah, it attracts
you're on your own. It's you against it, and there's no rules.
Constantly being beat the shit out.
Yeah, exactly. Like normal people with a normal mindset don't go skateboarding, and they certainly don't get good.
Have you ever seen just a random person, no matter what age, fall over in the street and it wipes them out? They're like, they're fucked. But you can stack it, and you're just like,
yeah. And not only that, it's like the mentality of it's embarrassing. Yeah. Most adults haven't fallen over since they were about 14.
Yeah.
Like we fall over every day. You know, like it's normal. Like it's not embarrassing to be on your ass in front of 20 people you don't know. You know, I don't care. Just get back up and do it again. It's what you do. It's part of our life. But I think getting back to that therapy process and that idea of what counselling means, it's like, it's not like I'm broken, I want to get fixed. It's like we're all broken. We all need some kind of like, I just want to be better. So right now, like what I'm doing in therapy now is completely what I did, is it opposite to what I did when I first started. So I reckon for the first 6 to 8 months, I wasn't even there for the right reason. I'm there, I want to fix the problem. I've got a problem, I'm getting divorced, I've got to deal with this, I've got my little boy, I've got to sort all this shit out. I need to get my head together to be able to get through this, you know? That was my aim. And then after that, I was just like, okay, why am I like this? What's going on? Why can't I do this? What's going, you know, and I'm not, and part of it, the biggest thing, I don't know where you're at with what you're doing with your therapy, counselling, whatever, but it's like understanding it's not your fault. You're a product of your environment. Everyone's got limited tool set. What counselling does is give you more tools.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot more tools now, and I can operate on a different level to what I did before because of it. So when someone, like I say, I was very angry and probably obnoxious for quite a long time in my life. And my attitude towards people and situations was complete. Like I'm much more tolerant now and a lot less judgmental. In my head, it's still there, but I'm just not vocalizing it to the person. Right before, I would just say straight at them, and I'm just not as I'm not trying to be like trying to hurt anyone or do anything like that. It's more that I don't need to do that. That's not helpful to me. It's not helpful to them.
Yeah.
What's the point? But what I'm trying to do now is that I want to operate on a different level. You know, like all of the things I'm trying to do, I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better partner. I want to be a better skateboarder. I want to be better at everything. So, you know, if it means me learning new skills and those skills come via therapy or counselling, I need to do that. It's you know, like it's a no-brainer to me.
It's like I said to you yesterday when we were talking after the podcast. All of my issues used to come out in joking form, so there'd be really harsh jokes about everything, you know, just real gnarly shit. But now it's just kind of like I've just toned it down because I know how to. Yeah. And me acting away, offending other people, but not knowing that I've offended them. And then when I'm trying to keep a friendship, they don't want to fuck with me, and I'm like, what's going on? And it makes the paranoia worse. Yeah. It's just it's not worth it.
Yeah, well, like, that's the thing is in your life. Like to me, I'm older than you boys, so like it's like for me, there are stages of your life where you can be a complete arsehole and get away with it.
Your 20s.
And then, your teens, your 20s, and then but then as you go through life and you've got to get better at some stuff. And so what, like Kate, my missus, is like she's a counsellor with kids. She works with kids. And psychodynamically, art therapy, all of these different aspects. So we have quite a few conversations about therapy and the process of going through it and what it all means and how that works. But it's like my opinion is you've got all of these adults in the world, but they're not really adults. We're all stuck at different ages as children, depending on what subject we're talking about. We're all hung up on certain things that we're traumatized by. It doesn't need to be big stuff. It can be just, you know, things that are like everyday to other people, but they have affected you. You're not quite aware of what that is and why that I hate the word triggering, but there are things that trigger me from me, and I go back to being a 7-year-old. Like I'm like, if I because I didn't get that or this or the other, and I see someone getting it and being ungrateful, I'm like, what? You know, like it's a thing for me that takes me back. Like it's taken me fucking 10 years to work this stuff out.
Yeah.
You know, now I know it. Now you've got a tool now to go, okay, that's what that is. I'm not going to react with that. I don't have to be that guy. And the same as, like, I've got 2 boys and they're teenagers, and I'm like, I was judging them with my life. So I'm like, at 13 years old, I was entrepreneurial. I was trying to do stuff. I was trying to make things happen. I didn't know what I was doing. No one in my family's entrepreneurial. I've been running my own businesses for like 15 years. I've got no business doing that, really. I don't come from that background. No one ever showed me how to do it, but it was in me, and it's a reaction. You know what I mean? And then I'm looking at my kids going, why aren't they entrepreneurial? Well, they don't need to be. They're not. I'm looking at what's around me, and I'm reacting to it. They're looking at what's around them and going, this is all right, because it's more comfortable. It's a completely different situation they're faced with. So their reaction is going to be different to that. So and understanding that, to me and to everyone I know, I don't think there's anybody who wouldn't benefit from having a decent counsellor, because
100%.
It's just about. I mean, it's about saying to yourself, not saying to yourself, well, that's who I am. It's who you are now. But who do you want to be next year or the year after? What type of fucking dad do you want to be? What type of guy do you want to be in 5 years' time? He ain't going to be the same as you now. How you're operating now is now. And that's how you need to operate, because you're getting through it at the moment.
Yeah.
And in 2, 3, 5 years' time, you're going to have a different set of things going on for you, whatever's going on. And the person you need to be then is different.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to be a different person is by working on yourself and understanding it's not your fault who you were, but it is your choice who you're going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And that's like so me and my partner, my business partner, Mash, he's had a mental life. Like we skated together and went in completely different directions.
Yeah.
Both of us came back together. Now we've got multiple businesses together. We work together nearly every day. We have this conversation with nearly every person we work with and hang out with. It's like, it changes your life once you start going, it's not my fault. But it is your fault if you don't start doing things about it.
If you don't start changing.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we all can be like, if you blame, you shouldn't take the blame, because certain things you've got to take personal responsibility. And the personal responsibility is like not saying, this is how I am. It is how you are now. It doesn't need to be the same as next year or next month or next, 10 years' time. It's understanding that you've got limited skills. You inherited them and you learn them from your mates. And if you're it's like that adage of like, what's your 5 friends closest to you around? What are they like? You are a product of that. So if they're all successful, moving forward, good guys, pushing their shit forward, you're probably going to try and do the same. If they're all layabouts and can't be asked to do anything, you're probably going to do the same. So you are going to fit into that mold. And then whether you want to or not, you will. Do you know what I mean? It's just par for the course. So like, if you want to drive your shit forward, you're gonna read books, you're gonna look at, and you're gonna hang out with people who are gonna do more and push you on. And that's what all I've tried to do. And counselling to me is that. It's exactly the same as going skating with better people. It's exactly the same as trying to run a business with people who have done more stuff. You only know what you know. And until someone says, do you know this? Because of my experience, what the fuck are you going to know? You're going to know nothing. Like, we all come into this world with basic tools, with minimal amounts of, like, there aren't many good parents out there. Like, really good ones. They're all trying, but they're all trying their hardest from what they knew. And what they knew, like, every step gets, generally, every set of parents tries to be a little bit better than their parents. Because they saw the failings and they feel the effect.
Yeah.
And then they try and be a bit better. But they've still got the hang-ups of all of that going on. So, like, and that's just, like, one element. And then, but you've got that, and it's when you become a parent, it's even more. I mean, Toby, you've got a little one. And it's like, you got to get your shit together, because you know this can be damaging. And only because you want him to be better. Like, I see my little girl. She's 3. She's got more confidence at 3 than I had about 12. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because her environment is so much different to what mine was.
We're a product of our environment.
100%. She's confident. She's like a completely different ball game.
Mm.
But again, getting back to that counselling thing, it's huge for me personally. And I think if you go in there accepting that, I think skateboarders are good at counselling good for counselling because they accept you're not good. You're never going to master this shit. You can't master skateboarding. It is work in progress. And like failure isn't failure. You know, failure is one step closer to making it. Mm-hmm. Like you bail, you fail. And in the end, okay, do this different. That's what you should do in your whole life. If you do that and counselling is a way to do that, you should be doing it.
Yeah.
What's the first step people should take into getting into a process like that?
I would.
You can self-refer yourself, can't you? From
Yeah,
the NHS
you can.
website?
I mean, I know you can do it online. I mean, I do, like my counsellor at the moment, I've never ever met her in person because I started with her in the lockdown.
Yeah, I've done via face-to-face and phone.
Have you?
I do phone now because it's more suitable for my work.
Same.
Because otherwise they'll want you on a random Wednesday at 2:00.
Yeah, and it's like half-hour drive here, half-hour drive there. There's 2 hours out of your day.
Session, So I just do it over the phone and I just go for a walk.
Yeah.
And just like I'm talking, it's like I'm talking to like a mate, but like a real honest mate.
Mm.
You know, that will be like, no, you're being a dick.
Yeah.
You're overthinking that, or you're overstepping your mark there.
Yeah, my one is, my counsellor is really good because I'm full of it and I can go and I can swerve stuff. So like when I want to talk about something, I'm just like, and also if she says to me about me, you know, that was really good or successful or whatever. Like, I've done a lot of stuff that was like way outdone what I should have done in my life already, and been fairly successful in quite a lot of realms of it. And I'm looking forward to like, it's not stopped. Like I'm just getting to the stage where it's going to get better. Yeah. And I feel that all the time. I'm like, we're getting, you know, but when she will say something, she was like, you've literally physically duck a compliment. Like literally, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And that's, and I would say most people, if they know me though, like he's a loudmouth, confident Essex twat. Do you know what I mean? That would be their perception. But like, I'm getting a compliment, and rather than going, yeah, like fucking, I'm the guy, it's not how I take it. I don't believe that. You know, like I know when it's been good, and I know where we've got to is some of the things we've got and done and amazing and been involved with. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't know. It's just like, it's an important part. Like if you don't want to develop as a person, I think you're insane, because like just being stuck at that level, I mean, who wants to stay there? Like it's like starting skateboarding and then going, oh well, I've dropped in here, I'm never going to drop in over there, I've only 2 steps, so I don't need to do 3.
Yeah, I've done it, so what do I need
I've done 1 kickflip, I won't try another one. You know, like it's not how skateboarders' brains works, you know what I mean? So skateboarders' brain perfectly suits one, entrepreneurialism, because it's like get up and do it again, get up and do it, fail until it works. And failure isn't failure, it's a step in the right direction. And exactly the same as the mentality of improving over time. You don't get good at skateboarding overnight. It takes ages, and you don't get your shit together mentally overnight, because you've got to break down all the barriers first. And initially when you started counselling, you go in because you're like, I could do with a bit of help here. Yeah. And then, but for the first few sessions, you're like, what? Just give me the help. You're like, they don't help you. You help yourself. Yeah. You work it out yourself, but they help you get back to what you should be talking about and what you should be thinking about. Because that's what your friends don't do. Yeah. Because they can't. What they want you to feel better. And actually, counselling is not about feeling better. It's about understanding. You understand why you feel a bit shitty, and why you've got a negative attitude towards certain things, or where that's coming from. You get to the bottom of that shit, it goes away. And then you can deal with something else. That's not an issue anymore. It's only like, whereas if you say that to your mates, they're like, oh, don't worry about it. Let's just go and do this. Let's let's
you're doing fine.
Divert the attention. Which is, it's like having a kid. When you've got a kid and you're like, the kid's having a meltdown, you're like, oh, look at the squirrel. And they've stopped having a meltdown. But they're still, in their head, the meltdown's
seeing
about...
the squirrels stops me having a meltdown.
Yeah, same. But the meltdown is about something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can't ignore it.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that like that. That's what's going on for adults too. So like what that turns into drugs, alcohol, you know, whatever, like that's escapism. You're escaping from that for a reason, you know, and that's when you get excessive usage of those things, that's what that's all about, generally.
I said the exact same thing on my last session. So he wanted to do it every week. And we started off every week, and then I said, can we do it every month? Because within that time, it's good doing it every week, but within a month, something might happen that I didn't know was there. So through that month, it gives me that whole month
more to think about,
to like think about what we spoke about, try and apply it. If it works and if it don't work, then come back to you, as opposed to rushing through.
Yeah.
Because for me, it needs to be like long. I need like that.
Yeah,
drop of information every now and then, as opposed to it being like,
it's what's giving you is tools.
Yeah.
It's giving you a thing to think about. So when you're faced with that, whatever it is, that feeling, it's all coming from a feeling. You feel insecure, you feel undergunned, you feel whatever, and that feeling's coming from somewhere. And then if you have the tools to go, like, I want to fucking chop a tree down. I want to smash a fence over. You know, like I get angry and I'm like, oh, and generally it's like that all comes from me not being heard, because I felt like when I was a kid I weren't heard. And then when I see kids who are really being listened to, and there's I'm jealous of that, because when I was a little kid I don't feel I was heard. I don't think anyone took any notice of that. And you know what I mean? It's like they're all little knock-on things, but then I'm like, you can't use that against that kid. His experience is not your experience. That's why he's like that. She's like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's understanding it. Once you start understanding more, you become a lot more empathetic and more understanding towards other people. So I used to be an arsehole to most people. So I'm like, fuck you. Like, I don't care. No one gives a shit about me. I don't give a shit about you. Or anybody for that matter. And now I'm like, that is lame. But I've learned that is lame. I know it wasn't very good. I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know what to do about it. And I didn't know why. I didn't know where it came from.
That situation.
I'm handling it that because it's like, no one's going to affect me. I'm not going to allow you to. I'm not going to let you get to me. You're not going to make me feel. So I'm going to make you feel. And it's me making, like, my anger comes out towards everybody and anybody at that point, because I didn't know what to do with it. And now it's like, it's personal development, man. It's like, but getting back to your point about how do you do it, I'd be like, look, I mean, you've got the internet. Look online, find a counsellor in local, you know.
That's all I did, yeah.
And then just, I've had 3 over the years. First one, not good, but I wasn't ready. I went in there sort of half-assed, going, sort of fix the problem, maybe. But I didn't really know what the problem was, didn't really want to fix it. The second one, I was like, I've got a problem, let's sort this out. And the problem was, I'm getting divorced, and I've got to deal with this. So I wanted to get my head together and work out, I want to fix the problem. We didn't fix the problem, but we did fix me to an extent, and got a long way down the road. And then I met Kate, who I'm with now, and like she's another level of communicator, and which has helped. But then, 3-4 years after being together, I'm like, I'm going to get back in that again. And it's not like it was bad. I was just like, I need to be better than this. This isn't good enough, you know. And she trained to be a psychodynamic counsellor, 4-year MA, and in that they have counselling every week. So she's doing counselling, she's studying counselling. I'm like, I should be getting back in this, and I'm learning about it. As she was learning about it, I was learning about it, and it's a fascinating subject. And
yeah,
actually,
absolutely.
once you realise that we are all literally products of our environment, and it's not your fault. We're all idiots, and we're only idiots until we learn to not be an idiot. And the only way you're going to do that is by trying to not be an idiot. Like none of us are good at skateboarding. The only way you get better at skateboarding is really trying to get better at skateboarding and trying and failing. It's the same with your brain. You know, you're going to be stuck at whatever level unless you start looking at it and going, I'm not good at that. I could be better there. And then how do I get better there? You learn. And you're going to learn it from someone who's going to give you the tools. And then it's your thing. You learn, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. Get into it. That's all I'm saying. And it's expensive. It feels expensive. But, I mean, it's like what?
I guess the
what
benefit,
price?
Yeah.
You know, what do you want? What's the price of being mentally in a better place?
More mentally stable.
And being better and being able to function better for your rest of your life. And it's an ongoing thing. I don't think it's not like, if someone said to you, "What you're going to start counselling, you're going to pay for this every week for the next fucking however long," you're like, "I can't afford it." But once you start and you start getting in and you get some benefit from it, you're like, "I don't want to stop this because this is good and I'm getting better." And you can dip in and out of it. That's the beauty of it. You get to a point you're like, actually, like what you're doing, you need a longer break so you've got more time to think about the tools you want to work on.
Yeah, use it myself.
Exactly. And but that's a mindset of a skateboarder. You're trying to be better. Like counselling ain't for everybody, but skateboarders I think lean into it really well because actually the mindset of being a skateboarder is exactly the mindset. You know you don't know much. For step one. Secondly, the only way you're going to learn is by trying. And then failing and trying and failing and working it out and understanding you're never going to be perfect straight away. Like I react completely differently to certain situations now than I did 2, 3, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Completely. You know, I'm like a different person, but I'm a different person because I've learned a lot more. I've got a lot more tools in the box. I've got, like, when a situation comes up, I've got things to deal with it. I don't have to bat it away or, you know, punch someone or, you know, run away or whatever the reaction would normally be in.
Look for arguments.
Absolutely. Or you know, I get the thing and I don't just throw it straight back at you. I'll take it on board and then try and deal with it a different way. All of that is learned behaviour. Yeah. You know? And it's whether you want to learn it or not. But yeah, it's fascinating, man. Get into it.
It's definitely worth people getting involved in that, you reckon?
100%.
Yeah.
It's never going to do you any harm.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's only there's never a negative outcome from doing some of it. Yeah. Is there?
Maybe in the YouTube notes we can put a link to the self-referral thing on the NHS
Well, you
website.
can just look it up. It does it by county. And
oh, does it?
Yeah. Because when I went for it, it broke it down by postcode.
Oh, amazing.
And then I went onto a list and then I got a call. And then I spoke to someone for an hour and she assessed that to find out exactly what kind of therapy consultation I need, because there's no point saying I feel like this and then they send me to someone that isn't trained in that. So the literal way to get it done is the weight off my shoulders of all the stuff that I can say to him. Yeah. Like, why do I react like this? Or why can you say something today that reminds me of something 7 years ago that didn't involve you, but now I pin it on you because
100%. Yeah, it's a
you've
trigger.
said that. I hate the code word trigger because so many people use it out of context now. You're triggering me. But it's like, no, something can be said even legit. At work that reminds me of something 10 years ago in my mind, or it's like it auto resets and goes to that point. Yeah, it's a reaction to that point. And that's what I was saying about the, like, me and Kate discussing. We're like, you haven't got adults. You did, yeah. What you've got is loads of older people who are all stuck at different child levels, depending on what's going on for them, whatever's happening for them in front of them at that point. Yeah. So you're never really dealing with an adult. What you're dealing with is a kid who's stuck somewhere in their life. You know, they could be 50, they could be 70, they could be whatever, and they're stuck at different levels, you know.
Sorry, I'm smirking because I'm looking at your facial expressions on the covers you've had. And this one here. So this is, you've had 3 covers, yeah? Yeah. Carpe-Diem.
Maybe one more, I think. I don't know. I couldn't find it this morning. You asked me to bring him in. I haven't brought him in just to go, look at my covers.
Just to clarify, we did bring him in.
This is a complete gear change, I know, but this is... We'll have to put this on the screen so people can see it. But this one looks like you're kind of in a boy band album cover. Your facial expression is like, check me out, I'm the shit. This one's amazing because it's like you're so deeply in love with that fish.
That's a bit more like...
It's just like, Look at this fucking fish.
That one's a hard one to catch. That's why.
Right. Okay. So which one was bigger? That one's fucking massive, isn't it? 47
Yeah,
pounds.
that one's bigger.
Where
that
was
one's
that?
rarer.
This was your first cover, right? The first fishing cover.
Yeah.
And then you've got your
Street Munson.
Street Munson.
That's a hockey goal, that thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Talk to us about fishing, because I know with working with you over the years and...
Before we leave, let me get scans into these on my phone,
of course,
because we might not be able to find the fishing ones.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be quite hard, but your phone can scan them in now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So one thing that kind of leads on from this is you did something in fishing with Navitas, the brand, DM, the brand that was kind of new to fishing. Do you want to just
absolutely.
bring us a bit of an insight into that?
They actually rolled straight on from Duffs.
Yeah.
So when the Duffs thing went tits up, I'd sort of looked at doing... I'd always been fishing. So since I was a little kid, since I was like 9, I started fishing. And I used to fish like lakes and rivers and whatever. And then sort of got back into it probably... Sort of when I guess when I was like hurt from snowboarding, I had like a knee surgery and then a broken leg, and I think second knee surgery. And every time I had time out, I'd go fishing, and I was starting to think I don't want to be the old guy in the van and not be able to skate, and I need to sort something out myself.
Yep.
So I came up with the idea of doing a fishing brand. I was going to do it with a friend. Sort of came together and then we didn't trademark it. It wasn't happening. So I left it for another 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 or 5 years. And then essentially came up with the idea. I was actually still at Duffs at that point.
There's a Duffs t-shirt right here as well.
Yeah. Was that Goa?
Yeah. Skate Goa, yeah. And loads of stickers on the board.
Yeah, and so I basically started putting together a brand for fishing. That was essentially like a skate brand. You can open those and have a look at them.
Oh, leave.
But yeah, so it was like I'm looking at everyone. I go fishing, and then when I was fishing, you got it's a really random mix of dudes that go fishing. So you've got
Isn't it like the second biggest pastime?
Yeah, biggest participation sport in England.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. So I'm going fishing, carp fishing, really, and all along the bank, you've got dudes, Volcom, Carhartt, Animal, anything that was green and camo from skate brands, they'd wear it. Because it's cool. Like, that was the coolest shit out there, and there was no brands. And I'm looking at it going, I need to do that. I need to make a cool brand for that guy. So I put together the brand, and I came up with an idea of... so it was sort of loosely based on... It was basically a skate snowboard brand, but aimed at angling. So it was like, and then completely randomly, the plan was, I'm going to remortgage my house, get 30 grand, 40 grand, something like that, and front it, and then just buy off the shelf product and start doing a brand. And that was the original plan. And I put in trademark, that was sort of ongoing, so it takes a few months to sort of turn around. Completely randomly, a friend who I hadn't spoken to for 2 or 3 years just called me out of the blue. And he was a bit of a madman. And he was just like, I met this Chinese dude. I'm shark fishing with this Chinese dude. I met him. You should meet him. I'm like, why? He said he makes clothes. And I said, so what? And he was like, you do Duffs. Why don't we get him to make Duffs clothes and we can make a cut? And I said, all right. I said, I don't even know where we make the clothes. I'm the team manager. He said, I'm setting a meeting up anyway. So I was like, all right. Anyway, 2 weeks later, I go to London for this meeting, and I meet my mate Greg, and he's like, oh, this guy's cool, blah, blah, blah. And we went to the pub before this meeting. I'm like, I've got no real business being there other than, like, if we can sort something out, I would like to make a little bit of money. I had no idea what was going on with that. Anyway, I had the DM, which is my brand, DM, Carpe-Diem, seize the day, carp fishing, whatever. So I had like a D in a box and a logo and loads of T designs. I had these line sheets, no real product. And I said, oh, I'm doing this brand. So I put them out on the table. He's like, this is fucking sick. Like, this is really good. What's the deal? So I was like, it's all there, trademarks in. I'm going to remortgage my house and then start making this shit. I didn't have any jackets in it. I just had hoodies and tees and designs and headwear, whatever.
They're largely camo.
No, mainly green,
Yeah.
because I didn't have my own camo or anything at that point. And it was just green, black, brown, you know, like earthy tones. And but then a red logo, so it was poppy. So it was like real, like, well, what's that? You know, like. And then I went to this meeting, and we went through all the products that they did. And I said, I want to work for Duffs, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the meeting, my mate Greg goes, show me your cart brand. So I was like, oh, what's this, fishing? And I was like, yeah. So I put these things, I was like, this is really cool. Left. Like, at the end of that meeting, I was like, oh, look, good reaction. They liked it. And about a week later, I got an email saying, oh, come in. We've got some samples to have a look at. That went on back and forth. They kept asking me to come back and look at samples. But evidently, every time I went back, they wanted to talk about DM and not Duffs. And in the end, I said to my old man, I said, I think they're going to offer me a deal. And basically, they said, look, we really like this fishing idea. We'll fund it. You run it. And I was like, perfect. So 50-50, you can access our production. So it meant we held it back on launching it. And then I put together like 5 styles of jacket, all waterproof, breathable, hoodies, tees, you know, like a full-on proper brand.
Full line of stuff.
Yeah, not a bedroom brand, like a full-on brand.
Yeah.
And then I'd done selling before, so I'd sold Duotone into stores. I knew how to play that game. I'd done a little bit of distribution, so I sort of roughly knew how that worked. I'd worked in skate or a snowboard shop, so I knew how that worked. And I'd come up with this idea, and so it was my baby. So I was like, all right, and I could do it however I wanted. So I literally went to the magazines, because it was mags at the time before the internet. It was 2009 this started. And showed a couple of the guys in the magazines. They were like, this is gonna fucking kill it. There's nothing like it. And within 2 years, it was like in 18 countries. It was like the most popular fishing clothing brand in Europe. It was wild. So I went from being a skateboarder, skating 4 days a week with my mates, running Duffs, having a nice time, to holy shit, I haven't skated at all for 10 months. I've been doing this, working this out. I don't know what to do. It's like a baptism of fire, big time. So that, and it flew, and it just had a huge market share, and the market was quite small at the time. So we weren't turning over loads of money, like £500,000 or something like that, which is good. But like, if you had the market share that we had probably about 50%, 60% of that market at that point. If you had 50%, 60% of the market share now in carp fishing clothing, you're probably in like the 10 million turnover. So that market was tiny because no one ever had it. They didn't have it. Yeah. It wasn't there.
You kind of created a new
created a new niche, really. Yeah. And it's just something that, I mean, I remember going in the fishing shops and they were like, we don't sell clothing. No one buys clothing from fishing shops. I'm like, they would if it looked like this. And they do. And they do like now. So that, like, I did that, and then I learnt a lot, and it gave me an opportunity to do everything and understand how that whole world works. And then I, like I say, I wasn't really skating. And then the second year of it, I started skating again a bit more. And then I was like sort of still sponsored, like getting creature boards and indie and stuff like that. And probably still had Duffs knocking around because I had quite a lot of pairs knocking around, so I didn't really need any shoes. And and then what happened with that brand, it was like my partner had another business. His core business was just making product for other brands like clothing, and he had an issue with it, and it essentially made it impossible for us to order anything. So it was like hands behind my back, tied behind my back, can't move the brand forward, I'm stuck. And we went through like a long buyout procedure where I was trying to buy him out so I could move it on. And it went up and down, on and on and on. And 8 months later, I decided to like pull out and just go, look, I can't do this anymore. I can't do what I want with the brand. And walked away. And which was hard because it was my baby. I basically invented this brand. It was the most popular fucking brand in fishing, and now I've got to go. And then at the same time, I was just about to have Sebastian, my boy, first boy, and he was about to be born, had a half-finished house, no job, no money, no nothing.
I remember coming to see you.
And I'm like, I've got to do something. Yeah, I've got to do something about this.
Yeah.
And I put together Navitas, which is my next brand, in 11 months from nothing to in stores. And what all the shops were really receptive. They're like, you got to bring a new brand. You got to bring a new brand. I'm like, I'm bringing fucking something. But it was always going to be, I wanted Navitas to be more outdoor. So not just pigeonholed to fishing. But then all the fishing shops were like, do fishing. We need another brand. Like, DM's going down. You got to bring the new brand. And I was like, if I don't let fishing shops have it, I'm going to miss out here because I can probably do 100, 200 grand turnover just because they all back it and they all like me and I've built this relationship. So I started Navitas in fishing and then tried to move it out of fishing with a bit of success, but never really the backing or the infrastructure to take it there because it was sort of me and me and me with a little bit of partners and funding but never quite what it could have been. Even as more successful than DM financially, market share nowhere near, but the market had changed, you know, and we did some cool stuff with that. Like I learned a lot and I actually did everything. So when I had DM, I didn't do all the production, I didn't do all of that. But with Navitas, I did everything. So I designed it, I sourced it, we marketed it. I did all the marketing and everything with DM and that as well. But like the whole package, I did. And then, so I had that up until, so from 2011 up until about 4 years ago. So 2019, I think I sold my part to my ex-partners. And I mean, it's still successful, continue. That's in like Go Outdoors, probably like 15, 18 countries. And so, excuse me, I then was always skating through that period. And we did some bits on the outdoor side. We had like Jordan was out repping it, and we had a few skaters wearing it, and it was good. The product was good, but it never really went where I wanted it to go, and I could see it wasn't ever going to get there without a lot of changes. My partners had another business, and that was flying, and they didn't have the infrastructure or the time to fund it and do it right. So I was like, look, you could do more with this than I want to. You keep it as a fishing brand. And I had the option to keep outdoor and as me, and I could carry on doing that. But I was just like, it's just going to be a hindrance. I'll just start do something else. Yeah. So I left in 2019 and set up Ethica, which is my main business now. And I make product for loads of brands. So probably about 15 different brands. So I do footwear for some brands. I do whole collections for others. So a lot of fishing brands, done a bit of skate. A bit of everything really. And now we've got other brands under that, not under Ethica, but like I own or co-own 3 brands now. So we've got like Vermin, which is like the little kids skate stuff, so from 4 or 5 year olds up to 12, and we do boards and we're mainly clothing, so sustainable, organic, recycled poly stuff like that, where it's like for kids, but like it's with John Horner. So John the artist,
good artist,
amazing, yeah. So creatively, it's really cool. It's a bit like it's got a bit of a World Industries vibe with like characters. Yeah. So it's like basically we are vermin. It's like when you're a skateboarder, you're treated like vermin. You shouldn't be here. Get out. Fuck off. Blah blah blah. It's like fuck you. We are vermin. So it's like little fox, raccoon, rats. You know, like all of these creatures that go about their business under the radar. So that's sort of like what we are as skateboarders. It's like we'll avoid you when you're there, but we're going to do our thing anyway. Yeah. So that's one, and then we've got another one coming, like which is a gym, jiu-jitsu influenced, MMA sort of influence, but a lot of mental health involved in that. So we're going to end up opening a wellness centre with that, I think. Oh, nice. So like where you can roll on the mats and do jiu-jitsu. I do a bit of jiu-jitsu training. I've got friends who are like pro MMA dudes, and
could you get Forde in a headlock in a minute?
Possibly.
I pulled my neck on.
Could you pull his neck
America.
back the other way?
His neck, yeah.
So don't pull it anymore.
Yeah. But so that's got that element in it, and then we've also got this Slackjaw brand, which is like moto inspired, sort of dirty fingernail brigade, but bit of workwear. So it's like it's cool. Like, it's really interesting because they're quite a different mix of brands. Products are different, stories different. It's fun. I like building brands. That's what I like doing. It's fun, like to sort of tell people's stories and like buy into that.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's great. I really like it. I like dealing with people. Like it's about people. Like, and essentially that's what, you know, I'm a brand nerd. I love the story behind the brand. I want to know who's involved, why, and then I'm intrigued by how people buy into it. Even my own things. Like I remember when I started DM, I was on Oxford Street and no one really knew it. It was like, this is a carp fishing brand for fuck's sake. Like you're on Oxford Street, and I had a bomber jacket, a little logo like on it embroidered. And I saw this dude, and he had a DM hoodie. I knew it was straight away. I was like, wow, that's a fucking DM hoodie. It wasn't a shocker because there was quite a lot of it out there at the point.
Yeah.
But I saw him, and he walked towards me, and he clocked my jacket, and I had clocked his hoodie, and I just gave him a nod.
That's like how it used to be back in the day with skating. If you saw a skater with skate shoes, you'd be like,
yeah, all right, mate, where do you skate?
Yeah.
Like, there was like that in the rave scene. If you saw somewhere a pair of Vision Streetwears or Vans or Airwalks, you'd be like, where do you skate? And that was, it was the unspoken, like, you know what's up.
Yeah.
And he did that with my own brand. I didn't know him. And I was like, fuck, we're on something here.
Yeah.
Like, this guy has no idea who I am. And I don't know who he is. And he gave me the nod. And I was like, it's the nod that this brand's going to fly.
Approval, yeah.
You know, and it did. It
the
did.
knowing nod.
Yeah, I loved it. So, I love it. I think it's fun, you know, to be able to not have a job.
Yeah.
I like the most.
Too right.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk to us about 40 Skate Co.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
To wrap things up.
Randomly, I spoke to the guys. Like, obviously, I know them, sort of. But a couple
Was it Marty and, and
Mike?
Yeah. Marty and Mike.
Yeah. And they spoke to me a while ago and said, oh, we'd like to do a board. And at the time, so I had knee surgery last year, or like just over a year ago. So I had stem cell treatment. So basically my knee was getting worse and worse and worse. I was like, it's game over. I'm not going to skate again. And my business partner, Mash, was like, go and see this guy. He's an osteopath, but he's all full body. So I went and saw him, and he was like, get an MRI. We had a look at the MRI, spoke to a surgeon. Surgeon was like, it's not too late here. We can do this, but you need to do it now. If you don't do it now, the likelihood is it's going to get worse, and you're probably going to need a knee replacement. So you can't get it on the NHS, it's on private only. So I was like, fuck, you know, it's $6 grand, $7 grand, something like that. Like, if you look at that, it's 150 quid for every year I've been skateboarding. So it's a bargain. I had a brilliant time. It's changed my entire life. It made me who I am. Now let's try and fix my knee and see if I can carry on skating. Do you know what I mean? So I was in the middle of renovating my house. So I got it to a point where I'm like, I'm not going to have to do anything. Had the knee surgery, and then been sort of did a lot of prehab, going to the gym and like strengthening it up, because it'd been 3 or 4 years on the like slowly downward slide, getting less and less movement, more and more painful.
Was there a particular thing that did it?
No, it's just knee surgery. So I snapped my ACL, and I tore my first slam on this one was like a landing over a box, like a gap, and I bailed. The board hit the floor, rolled, and it was spinning. And as it landed, I landed, and it landed on its wheels. And it was like ding, whack, like 360 of the knee, like a rolled ankle, but your knee. Big pop, fucked on the floor in the bits. And that turned into torn meniscus trapped in the joint. So like it was there, it was, you could feel it was something wrong, right? And a snapped ACL. So I had the first surgery was to tidy up meniscus, and they basically just chopped a load of cartilage out and got it moving again. The second one was a couple of years later when I wore a knee brace for like 2 or 3 years, skated with it. And then in hindsight, I should have probably just got that surgery done straight away. I skated fine with a knee brace, but it is like mentally, it's not the way forward, much harder. So then I had an ACL reconstruction, and then this surgery is essentially me being 50 years old and trying to skate, and 2 knee surgeries where they've chopped loads of cartilage out, and it's just fucked. Yeah. So basically what he said was you've got your options are we can do it, we can tidy it up and then do the stem cell treatment now, and there's a very good chance it will work and it will get slowly better, or you sit on it and wait for it to get worse so it gets to a point where you've got to get it done, but then you might be too late because if it deteriorates much more, there's nothing for these stem cell to hang on to. Yeah, like if all your cartilage is gone, the meniscus is not there, it's not happening. Yeah, exactly. So
and it full like injecting cells into your knee, that kind of
no,
thing?
I had a bone graft from my own knee, a tidy up, so like an arthroscopy, tidy up. Yeah. I had a meniscal tear, which I didn't know about, that they sorted out, and they tightened up my ACL so they can heat it and it shrinks.
Fucking
so
hell.
Amazing, yeah. And at the same time,
all in one go.
Yeah. So basically,
proper like knee service.
Yeah, full. Yeah. And then I come like use sort of basically like MOT for the knee, and then it's about a year, but like it's strong. I've got pretty much full movement in it, minimal pain. I'm going to gym like 5 days a week to keep strengthening it up and getting.
Well, you're from Essex, that's what you're doing.
Stronger and lighter. Well, I never did it before, but I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to keep.
Is that the Essex thing? Is it? Gym.
There's a fair bit of it.
Bit of fake tan, isn't it?
This
fake
ain't
tan in
fake
the
tan,
gym.
son. This is the real deal. This is
That's
what happens
real
in
tan.
Essex.
This is the real deal, son.
Yeah. That's what happens.
That's good. I'm glad it's.
But yeah, no. So now it's skateable, and I'm just sort of getting properly back on the horse now, right? Just getting in the air and going upside down a bit and taking it easy, you know. Like I've seen.
I love that on that. There's the skate photo as well. That's like double cover, isn't it?
Yeah. Double cover.
That's
I
like
just the facial expression on there is like
German.
I'll tell you
I fucking love
I'll tell you
this
the
fish.
story of that fish.
How do these get announced? Do they just email you like, okay, you've got the cover, or do you get like a big release party? Like,
Imagine that.
you've got the
Got
cover.
the
No, they don't come and
This big
surprise you on the
fucking
bank.
Fish.
Yeah. No, that fish. So that lake.
You love that fish there, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a proper fish one. That one's rare visitor. So like you get a rare visitor to the bank. Like some fish, the big ones in most lakes are quite greedy. That's how they get big.
Right.
So they get caught quite a bit.
Right.
Right. Not all the time.
German mag as well.
So that one would come out like once a year, if you're lucky. And people are fishing that 4 days a week, people are on it every day of the week, that lake.
So this was notorious fishing.
Yeah, quite hard to catch. And that was the last big one out of there. I'd caught all the other big ones in there. So it was about 20 or 15 fish over 40 pound in there. And I had bigger ones than both of those that didn't get on the cover. I had like a 51, 14.
Was that when the photographer was?
No, just like it depends what else comes out that month.
Right,
Like that Carp Talk one. That's
was
weekly. Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
There's no skate
massive.
magazine that's weekly.
That's wild. But look at the size of that fucking fish.
That looks like a bloke in skinny trousers that's like 65 and like your face is so
it's good, isn't it?
stoked.
It's like so when this shit happens, who takes these photos?
Normally people who are like that
So
one.
just some random
I
dude?
called my mate. He was like, I've had one of them come down,
So
and he'll come down at first. Like, well, you put it in a sack, like you.
right, so you keep it there.
You only for an hour or two. Like if it's.
So he brings his camera gear down,
Yeah, and
gets
then
the
we shoot it.
cover.
What, you like put it in something and drop it in the water?
Yeah, like it's got a floating part and it's on a rope, so it can go a little way away. And it just basically it's dark and they chill out in it and they just sit there. And then when you want to get them out, you can't keep them there for very long. If you could do it, I mean, if you catch them in the day, you just basically shoot them straight away if you can. But this one was like I say, rare, and I did a bit of homework on that one. So I'm like, it normally comes from a certain area at a certain time of the year, and it's an area I didn't like because it was a car park where everyone fishes. All the lazy bastards just turn up, I'll fish in the car park. I hate that. What I like is to find the one where no one wants to go. Then I can bait it, and get them coming in there and being confident. Then I catch them. That's how I fish. Like there's a lot. Carp fishing is not about chucking it out and hoping for the best. Yeah, it's basically like hunting. You know, like you're like, okay, how am I going to get them? Like, where do they go? Where do they like being? What do you do? You work it out. It's like a picture of the puzzle.
Carp Hunters
Magazine. Is on Carp Hunter Magazine. Yeah.
Carp
Like my
Hunter.
German.
One last question.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. The guy who took the photo, does he get paid for that?
Nah.
Cover shot, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't get any of that.
Fuck, it's not the same.
You do it for the love.
Mr. Munson, tell me about 40 skate coat.
Tell us what's
I don't know
in the pipeline.
So we got a board coming out. I've got a board coming out.
Nice.
Yes. So,
Video to accompany that? Or?
Yeah. Well, that's the part of it. I was just like, they were
What
like,
have I got to do to get a board on 40?
just be old. You're not old enough yet. That's evidently that's how
what's
I got one.
What's
just
the
being
age
old.
threshold?
Well, I'm already over it. I'm 53.
I know, that's
son.
what I mean. So
maybe I should wait for. Maybe they need a ball company called 50. But yeah.
Get a few more grey hairs, you might get on.
Yeah.
How old are you now? 43? 44.
Oh, yeah.
You're old enough for one then.
That's what I mean.
You're there.
Can I not get like a? This
You're
is
a
to Marty.
monkey now as well.
Well,
like,
can I get a Marty? Can I get a?
Can you make
This is my
Can you make a Toby board with this?
I didn't have to
graphic
do
on it?
any of this. They just asked me and said, "Would you like that?" And I'm
what's
like,
the
yeah,
other?
Can I have one, please?
No,
Marty?
wait. What's Marty and what's the other guy?
Mike.
Mike and Marty. Can I have pro board on
Can you be my
a
friend?
curb shape, please? Thank you very much. I'll send you my sponsor.
Can I have a pro board in 9 years, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
So essentially, what they did was like, "Oh, we want to do a board," and I was like, "I have been offered a couple of boards before in the past for different brands, and I've always
Name
said,
drop.
no, I never did it. I just like, well, just small little things like when when me and Carl were riding before we went for Death, it was like a little, can't remember what it was fucking called now. It's like a local brand for us.
Wasn't through with Lee Blackwell, was it?
No, he wasn't on it. It was Illy who did it.
It wasn't a snakeboard brand, was it?
No. I remember what it's called. Not Revolution. It was something like that. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But he was like, "Oh, we should do a board." I was like, "No one's going to buy that." But again, with that wheel on Muchefuck, like the Austrian brand, I didn't want that. I didn't ask for it. I went on a trip as a guest, and had a rad trip. It was really good. And
Next thing you know, you got a wheel.
And and they were like, "We've got a wheel coming out for you." I was like, "Why?" Like,
Was
no
that
one's
an
gonna
impression
buy
of
that.
him? Did you do the accent?
Nah.
Can you do the accent?
No.
I love that.
But they're cool dudes like that. Roman.
Austrian, aren't they?
Yeah, right, Roman.
Didn't they have Blackwell on there for a minute?
Yeah. They had a rad team. Like, there were a lot of good Euro dudes on there.
Yeah.
And we were on a couple of trips. So I knew Roman, who owns that, through Quick, because he used to be at Marseille. He's a good all-round skateboarder. Known him like on and off for a long time. And Blackwell said he was going on a trip. And I said, find out whether they're going to the pool. Because there's a pool in the Austrian Alps. I think Childress had a photo in there, in Thrasher. And it's epic. Like, it's a proper pool with the Austrian Alps behind it. It's fucking amazing. So I was like, if they're going there, let me know. And he called me. He was like, we're going there. And I was like, get me on that trip. He said, Roman says, you should come anyway. So he said, call him. So I called him. He said, you come as special guest. So I was like, all right. So I literally, they were on it for like 2 weeks. I was like, I can't do 2 weeks. I'm fucking running the business. So I have a few days. Yeah. And I flew in and that first spot we went to was that pool. And actually, Childress was on one of those trips with us. It was rad. There's a few Yanks. They had a real good crew like Kevin Kowalski, Cody Lockwood. Yeah. All of those dudes were on it. Because Kevin rode for Duffs for a bit. So I sort of knew a few of them. And then a load of good Euros, like 20, 30 dudes on a trip. It was really good, real fun. Good skate parks, DIYs, everything. And the next year we went back and it goes, you've got a wheel coming out. I was like, why? I don't even ride for you. And they were like, no, we've got a sick graphic. And we're like, it's going to be a cart with the mouth as the hole. I was like, oh my God. And then they did this, like, show me the graphic. It was actually pretty cool. It's like, I get a little guy on a boat fishing. And it's like,
you still got some of those at home?
I've actually got some being framed because I've got one set that someone's framing for me. Nice. But yeah, so that was random. And then I had a couple of opportunities where bods would go, oh, you should do a board. And I was like, oh, I don't think anyone buys it. I don't think you need to. But then the 40 guys, I was just like, I'd like that. So I think it'll be rad because all the bods you've had is amazing. You've got some really cool dudes that have had some really cool boards out there. And the shapes are rad and it's a bit of a different vibe, different story. Yeah. Cool. I was like, this is cool. And then I was like, I don't want one out while I can't skate. Like, I want to have a board out. I want to be able to do a little edit, shoot some photos, and go, that's fair enough. Mm. It's not, like, for me personally, I just wouldn't want that. So I just said, like, let's hold it. And then got a friend to work on the graphic, and it's fucking sick. It looks really good. So
can we show the graphic on screen when this goes out?
You might be able to. Yeah, I need to check with them. Apparently, I'm okay to talk about it.
Okay, that's
but they might want that to be a surprise. But,
so when's that out?
I don't know, but I'm going to see a sample of it. I think there's a session with those boys next month. Yeah. Or in a couple of weeks, actually. So hopefully I'll hook up with them. Yeah. And see it. And then I don't know when it's coming. But I'm stoked on it. The graphics sick. It looks really good. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
yeah, it's just rad. Like I don't know. Who fucking thought that was going to happen? But I think what they've done over there is rad. It's like they're celebrating some cool stuff, and they've got amazing bods doing bits that, maybe, I think they like what you guys do out here, and what, Dadlands and the Groans Brigade, all of that. Like, this is too good. People don't want to stop. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, at 19, you were too old to be a skateboarder. Literally, in the opinion of most of the public. And now you've got 50, 60-year-old pro skateboarders still making some money out of it. Not just industry dudes. They're literally getting paid to go skateboarding still. And people give a shit. Because there's loads of 40 and 50 and 30-year-old dudes that go, they are the cool dudes.
Basically, skateboarding is the fountain of youth.
100%. It's the best thing ever.
There's always someone looking up to someone older, and then them looking up to someone older.
Well, the beauty of skateboarding as well, like from my perspective, is like there aren't many sports like it. It's not really a sport. It's bigger than that, and it's more than that.
It's an art form, dude.
Yeah, but it is more that if you're good at football, you can't play football with shit people. If you're good at tennis, you can't have a good game of tennis with someone who's not very good. It is shit. Whereas when you're skateboarding, you can ride with someone
you can skate with your shit
who's
mates.
never been any good, and they're just trying their best, and you can feed off it and learn yourself and get better. And it's like that's the most amazing thing about it. There's no rules to it, and you don't have to be equal ability to have a good session.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Actually, you can see someone just drop in for the first time. You're like, whoa, that is gnarly. You know how hard that is. Or their first kickflip or their first dolly. You know how hard that is.
Yeah.
And you know how long it takes to get there. And when they do it, you're like, I better sort my life out. I want to do something here. They've inspired you to do something better. I think that's the beauty of skating. And it's not in every sport. And also, you can rock up to any fucking country. I've done it. You've probably done it. In anywhere in the world with a
skateboard brotherhood,
and you just literally rock up and you're like, you can stay at mine.
Yeah,
go here. This is the best pizza place in town. There's
we spoke about this yesterday, didn't we?
Amazing.
You can turn up anywhere.
How can you do that? What else can you do that with? You don't get that in surf. You don't get it in snow. You don't get it in football. You don't get it any of that shit. It's like skateboarding is like it's a level playing field. For everyone, doesn't matter whether you're what colour you are, what background you're from, what girl, boy, whatever. It doesn't matter. No one cares.
I think once again we've got to the point where we've proved that skateboarding is the fucking best.
It is, no doubt.
I've said it 100 times where you can go to any country, like you can just head somewhere, go, not have a place to stay, and by the end of the night,
best friends,
you're
lifelong friends.
You'll be like, oh, I'm travelling around America or the UK or Europe, and I ain't got anywhere to stay tonight. And they'll be like, oh, it's either they'll know someone or they'll know someone that knows someone, or they'll just sort you out with something.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think but also it's the attitude of skaters. Skaters have an acceptance attitude. It's like there is always the weird, dready dude at the skate park. There's always the guy over there doing the no complies. There's always the guy over there, training. No one cares. Yeah. Just go and do your fucking thing. No one's like going, judging them all. They do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. Like there's no that thing is the best thing about skating, and there is a lot of acceptance in skateboarding.
I mean,
more than nearly every other sport.
Yeah, more now than ever as well.
And you know what? That was amazing. As far like with the Team GB and all of that stuff, I was a bit involved in that, and I find it a little bit frustrating that it's obvious what you need to do with that. Build bigger parks, build better parks, make it more accessible.
We're like 20
you're never going to create elite athletes without elite facilities. If you've got mediocre facilities, you're going to have mediocre athletes. It's obvious. So like...
It's only your rare gems that can break out of that.
Well, they don't even break out. Like, where are they coming from? None of them are broken into that level. And they're not going to. You're not going to. It's impossible. Like, that's why the Australians, the Brazilians and Americans are going to capitalise on that because their facilities are better.
That was my first time to America skating, not just a video trip. Every park we turned at, just seeing the locals that are nobodies that don't ever make the films, their standard is better than our spot, like some of our
100%,
sponsored.
100%.
And it opened my eyes to being like, fucking hell, we're lacking.
Miles away.
Yeah, but we have been for such a long time.
Yeah, we always will be until you start building big stuff and not just patting everyone on the back for being mediocre. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. That was what my theory and my thought process with our skating, me, Ben, Carl, us lot, our crew. It's like, don't look at England, don't look at Britain, look at the world, and then go, where are you at? Like, what level do you want to be skating at? Like, I learned that from when I was in Marseille. I'm like, that's where I need to be. Yeah. I need to try and get there.
It's funny how that trip to Marseille kind of, you know, adjusted your trajectory
of whole life.
Yeah.
Well, is that like that's what I'm saying, is like random things and being open, and that's part of being a skateboarder. Like buying the magazine to make me go snowboarding. Like Justin Allison has no idea he changed my life because he had the cover of that. I never saw him again. My whole life direction changed because of that mag. And then Marseille changed it again, you know. And then like every step.
Catching that big motherfucker changed it even more.
Just put a smile on my face. It didn't really change my life, that one. But it did. It finished me over that lake. So that was the main thing. But yeah, I think it's just so... interesting that you look at skating. I mean, look, we're fucking here. When we met each other, you wouldn't go, like 15 years later, we're going to be chatting shit about skateboarding still, and you're doing this, you know, influencing the next generation of skateboarding.
You called us an influencer.
Here you are.
I think everyone's got influence in someone else's life if they know it.
Absolutely.
Because at the video prem and then at the Dadlands stuff, I said to Toby, like, it was a range of like 16, 17, 18 to even like 40s and 50s at a video prem I did, or like at the Roller Snakes events, that come up and they're like, can we get a picture? And I'm like, fuck do you want a picture with me for? What have I done? But yeah, as time goes on, you just realise that you've got importance to every.
What you're doing is doing something.
That's what I mean.
And whilst you're doing something, that's inspirational to make other people do something. Yeah. That's all you can do.
I mean, it's the whole attitude that a lot of skaters have had, especially from like the people who started in the 80s. Like, what year was it? 86, 87? Yeah. So I started 88. That kind of, you got to do it yourself because there's no ramps anywhere.
Absolutely.
So you're going to have to build it.
Yeah.
If you want to go skating, you're going to have to get there.
Yeah.
You know,
you're not spoiled for choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, you go there and stay there all day. Yeah,
and you
now it's like
till the bitter end.
It's lame. Let's go next one. It's 20 minutes drive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you used to rock up there, get off the train, and spend half an hour getting there.
Yeah, survive on £1.
Yeah,
just to buy the shit food.
Absolutely.
But like that attitude, I think has probably served us quite well.
Yeah,
because it's that DIY.
Yeah, and resilience, and also people weren't accepting of skateboarding.
Yeah. You were the scum.
Literally, you're a scum. No one even cared.
I mean, some still are, but
what have I done?
Nothing.
It's your influence, Tobe.
But I think even when I was growing up, like I got into skating like 2002, and that was still on the tail end. If you go down the street and blokes outside of a pub would like spit at you, throw like beer bottles or something at you. You don't get that now.
No.
I've not seen that.
No,
like, I can skate through anywhere, and you don't even hear like.
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
Mate.
Yeah.
Like you just go from A to B and you don't get any shit. Whereas before you'd avoid certain bits of a city centre because you knew that there were
absolutely
that like kick balls at you or something, or like throw something at you.
Yeah, I know, it's a completely different world out there.
Yeah, it's
with the acceptable, or like the acceptability of skateboarding.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's just rad. Well, actually, what was really good about the Olympics is I was like, I don't know whether it fits. I get why the Olympics want skateboarding more than skateboarding needs the Olympics, that's for sure. But I was just like, I don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. But then when it actually happened, I was like,
what are you pointing at?
It's trying to get me to get close to the mic. I've got to go penis length away, apparently.
If you're lucky.
Long, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm judging off mine now. I've had it reduced. But
how was the reduction?
Thanks for that, by the way. That really helped me out.
Bit painful, but I got over it. I was fed up of dragging it around. I kept getting a scab on the end of it. But
there's only so much Savlon can do, right?
Exactly. Sudocreme, a bucket of it. But like with I knew we would go off on a tangent at some point. I thought we'd done quite well there. About 4.5 hours in, we've only gone off on a couple. But yeah, with the Olympics, just the way it came across was like, that is skateboarding. It doesn't matter whether it's on a curb with your mates on a Sunday morning, mini ramp with a few, bods who don't even know each other, or the best dudes in the world. When someone has it, they're all congratulating each other. Yeah. There is no winner. Everyone wins. When it goes down, everyone gets it. Everyone appreciates that. When someone's operating on that level, no one's sitting there going, "Oh fuck," they beat me. Like, no, it's not that.
Apart from Niger.
Yeah, but even him
and Letitia.
But like even that is sort of a bit more.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's such a minimal amount of it.
Yeah.
Like the average Joe Blogs goes, "Whoa, these bods are all cheering each other. They're fucking picking up the winner and carrying him around or her around."
Yeah.
Like that don't happen in gymnastics. They're all going off in a sulk.
Stood on a
they're
podium
gutted.
separately. Like.
Yeah, they don't want to. They're not there. It transcended the Olympics, skateboarding.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what it should do, because it's better than the Olympics. It is more than that, and it's not those things. But to see it in real life, in my lifetime, was like, I grew up when it was like, you're an absolute wanker if you go skateboarding. And now it's on TV and everyone's like, oh, skateboarding's cool, like it's like they accept it. It's an acceptable thing for their kids to do now.
It's mad, isn't it? Because
it's wild.
I mean, we've spoken about this before, but it makes you so grateful that it sounds really cheesy, but so grateful that you're a skater. And it sounds really, but it's true.
Well, I always think
fucking the best.
Amazing, yeah.
I always think like if I didn't skate or I didn't film or I didn't have either of those, what else would I do?
You'd be an even bigger bell
I'd be
end.
like sitting on the estate that I grew up on. Like
it gives you a purpose, doesn't it? And also,
Toby's just projecting on me all the time.
But it would be true, wouldn't it? What would Forde do if he didn't find skating? Or
I'd probably stick to robbing and fighting.
Yeah. What would you do? Well, you'd be a builder, wouldn't you? You'd be
it?
down the gym every single day.
Be a snowboarder.
I don't know.
but
No, I wouldn't probably found it, would I? I don't know. I wouldn't want to think.
No, I know. This is the thing, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? It's shaped me as a person so much, and
And you look at everyone you know. I would say that I'm not speaking on your behalf, but the majority of you people you know and hang out with, you've met through skating over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's mad.
Well,
kind of you can work
mad,
it back, can't you?
What is mad? What I find really it's funny. I spoke about this the other day. Is that I identify as a skateboarder, like fully. Like I've been running my own businesses for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I've been a snowboarder, blah, blah, blah. If someone meets me and they say, oh, what do you do? I'm a skateboarder. But I'm not a fucking skateboarder. Well, I am a skateboarder, but in my head, that's who I am. I am a skateboarder, number one, and then I run businesses.
Yeah.
I've got different brands. I do other shit, but I'm a skateboarder. That is how I introduce myself. It's how I see myself when I'm 53 years old. Do you know what I mean? It is who I am. Do you know what I mean? But most people, if you were a footballer and said that, and you were just like even if you were a former professional footballer, you wouldn't go, I'm a footballer. You just wouldn't. You don't, they're just like, what do you do? I used to do that. But it's like, I am that. That's who I am. This is who we are. You know what I mean? I find that really fascinating because not many people, it's like, not many people identify with the thing that they do and they love.
Do you not identify as a carp hunter?
You're part-time. Yeah.
You know, I
A
find funny as well
skateboarder
is
stroke carp hunter.
Yeah.
other people in sports, like tennis players that have retired, probably don't do it in their spare time anymore because they're retired.
Yeah, that's it. They knocked on
They
the
just
head.
give up, or they're like, I'm a retired footballer, but I don't play football anymore. But I feel
Does
like
Heath Kirkchart still skate?
With skate, Heath Kirkchart.
He's a different animal, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think Heath Kirkchart probably does still skate.
Yeah, he does.
At times, yeah. But that's the thing. Like, if you're a skateboarder,
He doesn't need to
If
be
you're a
fair. He's had
skateboarder-
more influence than anyone will ever have in that world.
Did you see that? I just burped and dribbled a little bit.
It's great.
That's a sign of age, isn't it?
But if you're a skateboarder, you can be like pro,
He's
not
professional,
pro.
this guy.
Pro,
I'm really,
not pro.
I'm really enjoying it.
Can you?
know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you can go on and off
Can we
being
get
pro.
another 10 a man? So I think you might fill this one up.
Right, listen.
But you can be on and off being pro or not and
Basically.
sponsored, but you'll still skate if you're pro or not.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that was a great episode. We will see you soon.
No.
Roll the credits.
No.
Oh, don't do that.
Listen.
Yeah.
No.
Hard post.
Let's
No.
do a soft ending
No,
as well.
listen.
A flaccid ending.
You know, this episode was exactly as I thought it was going to be.
What we needed as
You.
well, yeah.
Just going into great detail about stuff, and it's amazing. So, well
Thanks.
done.
Round of applause.
Sorry it went on so long.
No, it's all right. We'll cut a load
No,
of it down.
good.
It'll be
No,
5
that's-
minutes. It's going to be a 5-minute episode.
Let's just
Um,
keep it as long as we can
but-
because that's what you want to hear.
But what we've worked out is, again, skating is the best.
100%.
So
Hmm.
everyone else can get fucked.
Well, there you go. Toby's pretty
Cheers.
Roll the theme tune.
much-
There we go.
That was
Cheers,
it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you very
man.
much. Toby's,
I've started losing the will to live Saturday. You know when you've been sat
Toby's
down
just
so long,
rolled.
I'm like,
Toby's lost the will to live.
No, that's good because we can. There's an ending there.
What a that'll be well good when it was like I've lost the will to live. Roll the credits. Bang.